elements of the local government code. One was really improving service delivery, therefore improving the quality of lives of people. If you devolve responsibilities and corresponding authority to local governments, we've seen local governments became more responsible, became more innovative on managing the affairs of local communities. The LG Code was really the policy framework for empowerment of local communities and local governments. For me, every Filipino deserves a minimum set of services. So full devolution will bring greater responsibilities to local governments. They will be fully accountable for service delivery, but they have all the needed resources, the wherewithal to steer development, define the destiny of their communities, green for their communities, realize those dreams.
The local government code enacted in 1991 was really considered, in fact, is considered as the Bible of local governments in the country today. Our vision should not only be the vision of the leader, but it should be a shared vision of the leader and the constituency. Most important part here is engagement with the community, the dialogues between people. If we are open to learn from our successes and learn from our mistakes, we are in for a great adventure in governance. I always consider governance as an opportunity. It allows you to know your limitations and your strengths. I encourage everyone, give your best foot forward in helping our country through a strong local government.
Unang-una sa local government code, binigyan ng power ang isang city for taxation. Then we do innovation on this. Dito kami gumawa at ang mga mayor namin ng mga programa, una para patapalakasin ang kita ng isang syudad. We lay our cards on the table. Ibig sabihin, kung gagawa kami ng isang programa, dapat alam ng mga kasama namin, mga constituent namin, para hindi kami magkamali. Sa lahat ng nilahad kong programa, sinasabi namin sa mga tao yan. Lahat dapat pakinggan, lahat dapat malaman.
We consider the code not just as a legal instrument. It's a blueprint of development for the country. And we believe that the code will actually facilitate. It will ensure genuine development to the country. If we are to harmonize, we have to ensure that these captive interventions are available, the captive interventions are accessible, and the captive interventions are in quality condition, ensuring that local government units will use the resources efficiently in order to improve the performance. And of course, part of the process is ensuring that the local government academy will regularly assess the capacities of local government units. A lot of our local government are development-oriented already. So we are assured that this country will be brought to a future that will really be good for, especially for the younger generation today. To all our local government units, our local government officials, this is a journey of a lifetime. The dream, the spirit behind the local government code is being actualized, will be actualized in 2022. We're preparing actually. This is an opportunity for us to better serve our constituents with the resources and the responsibilities that will be transferred to you. And I know with the types of leaders that we have now, that spirit of the local government code will actually be accomplished. So to all our local government officials, we are behind you. The Local Government Academy is always behind you in your capacity development requirements. And also, we trust that together we can actually achieve this dream of a lifetime of local government units to really serve their constituent better.
Recording in progress.
To ensure the smooth conduct of the forum session, all participants are expected to comply with the following rules. 1. Please make sure that you logged in using the email address you provided during the registration. 2. Your full name must be reflected on your account name. Otherwise, please rename by clicking More beside your name in the participants list. You may also chat in your full name and the chat moderators will assist you in renaming your account. 3. Don't forget to click the Join Audio button to ensure that you can clearly hear the speakers. 4. Kindly ensure that your video camera is off and your microphone is on mute. 5. Please make sure to accomplish the feedback form. The link and the QR code will be flashed on the screen before the end of the session. If you are a Zoom participant, you must stay online for at least 1.5 hours. If you are a Facebook viewer, please comment down your full name, position, and organization 3 times. First, when you start watching. Second, when the chat moderators ask you to comment during the session. And third, when the technical host flashes the link and QR code of the feedback form before the session ends. Thank you.
Be empowered and effective partners of the nation's development. Take part in building a promising future for our communities.
Eternal God, Creator of the universe, there is no God but you. Great and wonderful are your works, wondrous are your ways. Thank you for the many splendored variety of your creation. Thank you for the many ways we affirm your presence and purpose, and the freedom to do so. Forgive our violation of your creation. Forgive our violence toward each other. We stand in awe and gratitude for your persistent love for each and all of your children. Grant to all and our leaders attributes of the strong, mutual respect in words and deed, the strength in the exercise of power, and the will for peace with justice for all. Grant us success in our endeavor and for the success of this activity, so that we may bring honor and praise to you. Eternal God, Creator of the universe, there is no God but you. Amen.
Hello Philippines and hello National Capital Region. Isang magandang umaga ang aking pagbati sa inyong lahat and welcome to the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021 or the PLGF 2021 with the theme The Wonders of Devolution, 30 Years of Strong and Empowered Local Governments. Ako po si Earl Oreo mula sa DILG National Capital Region at ako ang inyong makakasama dito sa 4th session ng PLGF 2021 at maraming salamat sa patuloy na pagtangkilik sa ating programa. The Philippine Local Governance Forum is an annual offering of the DILG together with the DILG bureaus, the Local Government Academy or the LGA, and the DILG regional offices through the Local Governance Regional Resource Centers or the LGRRC to support and guide the LGUs in transitioning towards full devolution, in making well-informed decisions, and in effectively performing their key roles towards achieving local governance excellence. Truly, we are all ecstatic as we are all gathered in this virtual gathering in the pursuit of meaningful public service. At live na live po tayo dito ngayon sa Zoom at napapanood din po tayo ng live via Facebook and YouTube. And let us make our event trend using the official hashtags hashtag PLGF2021, hashtag full devolution, hashtag local autonomy, hashtag local empowerment, and hashtag October to remember. But before we proceed po sa ating makabuluhang talakayan ngayong umaga, hayaan ninyo akong bigyan kayo ng maikling recap sa naganap na talakayan mula sa una, pangalawa at ikatlong episode ng PLGF 2021. Nagkaroon tayo ng paunang mensahe mula sa DILG Undersecretary for Local Government, si Yusek Marlo Iringan, no? At kanyang mention that full devolution offers great promise towards marginalization, equity, and accountability. While the LGUs, as he mentioned, may face challenges as they transition to full devolution, but they can count on the DILG and the other national government agencies to guide and help them in strengthening their capacities and elevate local service delivery. He also mentioned that now more than ever, the different levels of government must collaborate and ensure the alignment of plans and important government functions are properly turned over to the local government units. Aside from that, the Undersecretary for Local Government mentioned that there will be a 10 billion growth equity fund to cover the funding requirements of the PPAs of poor, disadvantaged, and lagging LGUs as a concrete measure to ensure that no local government unit will be left behind in fulfilling the fully devolved functions and services. And he also mentioned that everybody must really work hand in hand and work together so we can also achieve the matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay as stated in the Ambisyon Natin 2040. From the Assistant Secretary Jocelyn Niwane of DSWD, LGUs are now expected to assume greater responsibility in the delivery of services and making vital decisions in governing their local communities. LGUs need to further strengthen their capabilities, especially along the areas of local development planning, public financial management, monitoring and evaluation, project management, and community mobilization and participation. Also, related to improving services for the LGUs towards strengthening decentralization, the Assistant Secretary mentioned that we are to expect the provision of technical assistance and support from the DSWD to support the capacity building interventions, particularly in ensuring continuity of the implementation of the social welfare services to be devolved. Also, the Assistant Secretary Niwane mentioned that through the devolution efforts of the government, more beneficiaries will be able to access and benefit from the social welfare programs, since more funds will be directly channeled to the LGUs. The LGUs are now more than ever empowered to implement and deliver basic services to benefit the poor and the vulnerable. Also, the devolution presents opportunities to strengthen local policies to recalibrate and sustain functional social welfare system that are more inclusive and responsive to the needs of the community, ensuring that no one is left behind. From the Department of Budget and Management, Calabarzon, in the topic synergizing local governance in the advent of full devolution. Director Nympha Manalastas mentioned that for the full devolution to be more effective, the regional line agencies, local government units, and members of the regional development councils, sectoral committees, and league of local governments should really work hand in hand and work together. The DBM has also introduced several public financial management reforms in order to achieve inclusive growth. And to further help LGUs in the devolution transition, the DBM offers technical assistance in the preparation and enhancement of public financial management plans, capacity building for local government units, financial managers, and various reference materials. Also, the LGUs should actively engage the help of the regional line agencies in the preparation of their DTPs to come up with a more holistic roadmap for the next 3 years. The LGUs should communicate their concerns to the Committee on Devolution so that immediate actions are resolved and undertaken. LGUs are also encouraged to aspire to move up higher, not because you have more provisions to implement the programs, projects, and activities, but because you believe that your people, your community deserve more, and that the national government agencies have the responsibility to help them improve their lives. Now, talking about the DOH Devolution Transition Plan. The DOH DTP focal person, Mr. Eric Paul Umul, mentioned that the Health Facilities Enhancement Program will be gradually and partially devolved to the local government units. Hence, LGUs, especially those with financial capacity, will be responsible for the funding, support, and procurement of capital outlay. The HFEF EP is mandated to support the Universal Healthcare Act through the allocation of the capital outlay and procurement of health infrastructure, equipment, and medical transport. The basis for this red devolution is based on the poverty incidence specification of the provinces, cities, and municipalities from the Philippine Statistics Authority. Also related to this, the epidemiology and surveillance, disease surveillance officers will be partially devolved by 2023, and the human resources for health deployment will be gradually and partially developed by 2023. In connection to this, LGUs need to prioritize their needs based on the redevolved functions and coordinate with the DILG, the provincial and the city or municipal project development offices for guidance in local planning. Also, LGUs need to involve local health officers and local planning and orient them on the filling up of forms for the devolution transition plan formulation. As for the concrete practices from the governments, at the provincial level, Governor Albert Garcia mentioned about their perspectives on the project of devolution. For Governor Garcia, the transition to devolution has many details and many moving parts. and a uniform and bottom line measurement of performance for all LGUs from the barangay, municipality, city, and province will help bind all these details and moving parts together. This uniform and bottom line measurement of performance will be able to harmonize all the transition to devolution efforts, informing the people of the performance of the LGU and the local chief executive, incentivizing LGUs based on their performance, and educating the electorate on choosing the right leaders by providing them data-based measurement of performance. Related to this, in Bataan, the Human Development Index is used. HDI is used to measure the quality of life and has three components, namely access to education, health and life expectancy, poverty incidence, and per capita income. This measurement of performance can be used as an indicator of the DILG Seal of Good Local Governance, or the SGLG, and become a motivation for a friendly competition among LGUs, which will eventually lead to public servants, regardless of political leaning, working together towards a common goal equals less politics, more public service. For the case of Santa Rosa, Laguna, Mayor Arlene Arcillas mentioned their response to the COVID pandemic. They mentioned about the leadership's participatory style of governance, which led to the establishment of good relations with the private sector prior to the pandemic. They also mentioned about the public-private partnership, which has become an instrument for the city, not just to respond to the needs of the people, but also to introduce best practices that eventually turn into accomplishments. The PPP was manifested in various COVID-19 response initiatives of the city, particularly in the establishment of medical facilities, provision of public transportation services, food security measures, expansion of the social amelioration program, and the implementation of the vaccination program. In the case of Pura Tarlac, Mayor Freddy Domingo mentioned about making dreams into reality, the story of their Pura water system. As a fourth-class municipality, it has been a struggle for Pura LGU to ensure that basic services are delivered to the people. In their case, access to clean water has not always been easy. From 2016 to 2020, assistance programs from DILG paved the way for the expansion of the Pura water system. And in the process of expanding their water system, the LGU revenue generating capacity also improved. And the increase in local income brought about by the expansion of their water system allowed the LGU to become more proactive in the delivery of basic services to the people. Also, in making their dreams into reality, through assistance provided by the DILG, Pura has emerged to become a booming community. And as Mayor Freddy Domingo mentioned, they are bracing themselves for full devolution, providing financial subsidy to further hone LGU capacities based on their capacity and the level of their technical developments. For Butuan in Barangay Libertad, they mentioned about empowering barangays through strengthened synergy at the local level. The operation of the public market of Barangay Libertad started in the early 1960s and has since grown. Its operation is now supported by SP policies. And in addressing the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the barangay worked in close coordination with the various departments, DPWH, branches of the Philippine Armed Forces, and media and private sector to implement various activities. And this allowed them for the continued operations of the markets during the pandemic. And lastly, for Barangay Libertad in Butuan City, the Punong Barangay Menchi Rosario mentioned that the financial surplus generated by the successful operation of the public market is now added to the barangay's general fund and supports the implementation of developmental projects. Over the years, the market's income comprises at least 7% of the barangay's annual income. And the anticipated increase in the national allotment combined with the market's income will now lead to the improvement of the market facility, which in turn will be able to generate even higher income for the barangay, creating more business opportunities, more jobs generated, and better market services for all. Okay, I hope that you gained a lot of insights from that very meaningful recap of the previous sessions. And now, to welcome us all here in the fourth session of the PLGF 2021, may I call on the very dynamic Regional Director of the DILG National Capital Region, our very own RD Maria Lourdes L. Agustin, CESO 3. Good morning po, RD.
Morning, Earl. Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. First off, I would like to greet our colleagues and partners in empowering and building the capacity of local governments and congratulate the Local Government Academy under the leadership of Director Thelma Vicina for this undertaking. We are fortunate to have with us today Mr. Edwin Cari, the Deputy Resident Representative of the United Nations Development Program Philippines, Ms. Fiorella Fabella of the World Bank, Mr. Antonio Balang Jr., representing the German Agency for International Cooperation, Mr. Roger Cabilis Jr. of Action Against Hunger Philippines, and the DILG's own Director Rulin Zambales of the Office of Project Development Services. We celebrate the Local Government Month every October, coinciding with the anniversary of the Local Government Code of 1991, which was passed into law 30 years ago. It is my pleasure to recognize the local officials, local governance stakeholders, and communities to have worked together to nurture self-sufficient and empowered local government units across the country. In my decades of experience working with the government, I've observed that the only way to address persistent and complex development challenges is by consistently working with the right stakeholders towards clear, realistic objectives. We are at a crossroads in our journey towards inclusive and sustainable development. Local government units, ostensibly created and empowered to promote the general welfare of their constituents, are set to receive a greater share of government resources come 2022. These resources entail additional functions that LGUs will be expected to perform as the national government fully devolves them during the transition period prescribed in the relevant Supreme Court ruling. In order to ensure that LGUs are able to perform these new duties and functions, we will need to deliver a targeted package of capacity development interventions. This will address the capacity and performance gaps identified during data from previous Seal of Good Local Governance assessments. While many LGUs are in a relatively good position in terms of capacity and performance, gaps remain. Gaps that threaten to hamper the achievement of socioeconomic development targets. The Philippine Local Governance Forum is an annual offering of the LGA together with its bureaus and the DILG regional offices through the LGRCs to support and guide LGUs in transitioning into full devolution, making well-informed decisions and performing their ever-growing roles effectively in order to achieve excellence in local governance. The forum highlights three key areas: empowerment, participation, capacity development, in relation to the thematic areas, sectors, and processes of local governance that have evolved over the last 30 years. Previous sessions of the forum focused on the following topics. Session 1, the integral role of leagues in promoting good governance, devolution in the last 30 years, and in preparation and commitment to full devolution in 2022. Session 2, best practices in resource allocation, featuring LGU success stories from Caraga and Region 2. And Session 3, the regional and local efforts and best practices as role models of local governance excellence and the contributions of local stakeholders and partners towards full devolution. For this session, we invited international partners with experience and institutional capacity to deliver the various forms of assistance our LGUs need. Local governance is a multidisciplinary matter with different aspects relating to economic development and competitiveness, social protection, public safety, environmental protection, disaster risk reduction and management, climate change, public financial management, and many other public policy and administration concerns. No single institution has the monopoly of knowledge or expertise on any or all of these topics. Therefore, cooperation and partnership are crucial to our collective success. I sincerely hope that what we will be discussing today will inspire you and drive you to initiate or strengthen your own international cooperation efforts. There is virtually unlimited knowledge and resources beyond our borders. All you need to do is to gain access and to reach out and engage in meaningful dialogue. Again, thank you very much for participating in today's activity, and we look forward to a very productive morning session with you all.
Maraming salamat po, DILG NCR Regional Director Maria Lourdes Agustin, for that very warm welcome. It has been very clear, no, by RD that we need to do consistent work towards attaining clear and realistic goals. And this covers comprehensive planning and design based on concrete LGU performance. And in short, makabuluhang pag-unlad batay sa konkretong pagsusuri sa kalagayan ng ating mga lokal na pamahalaan. And RD also mentioned about the critical importance of partnerships with all stakeholders, including international institutions and organizations. And today, we will start with the fourth session of the Philippine Local Governance Forum entitled Synergy in Local Governance, International Edition. Last Tuesday, we invited government agencies as well as their LGU partners to impart their innovations and inspiring stories, particularly sa kanilang mga natutunan at kanilang mga istorya ng tagumpay sa larangan ng good local governance. And now, we have invited our international partners to share their stories and contributions as manifestations that devolution has really worked in the last 30 years. And I know that the international organizations continually help our LGUs in the pursuit of good local governance. And to further expound on the overall theme of today's session, let us all welcome the DILG Director of the Office of Project Development Service, or OPDS, Director Rolene Zambales. Magandang umaga po, Director.
Good morning. Thank you, Earl. Good morning to all, to our esteemed guests, our local chief executives, other officials and functionaries of local government units, officers of the various leagues, our regional directors, and other members of the DILG family, to our guests from our development partners, especially to our speakers, Mr. Edwin Carey of the UNDP, Mr. Maria Fiorella Fabella of the World Bank, Mr. Antonio Balang of the GIZ, Mr. Roger Cabiles Jr. of the Action Against Hunger Philippines, representatives from other development partners and other national government agencies, to our gracious host from the Local Government Academy, led of course by Director Telma Vicena, and to all the other participants here in the virtual room and those watching through live streaming, fellow public servants, a pleasant day to all of us. This year, we happen to mark a milestone for the Philippine local governments, the 30th anniversary of the Local Government Code of 1991. 3 decades ago, the country took a bold step to pass an extensive decentralization policy anchored within the context of local autonomy and devolution. It was a revolutionary move that empowered our LGUs with increased authority, responsibilities, and resources to address the gaps in terms of public service delivery and facilitating local development. Since then, we witnessed how LGUs exercise local autonomy and continue to strive to effectively accomplish their mandates. As setbacks are inevitable, given the differences in the capacities and capabilities of LGUs, we at the national government has also been, through the years, relentlessly trying to provide the necessary support to eventually make the equitable and inclusive progress in the country a success. Together, we witnessed how our country collectively rose from the challenges with grit and resilience. This year's celebration has become more meaningful with the much anticipated implementation of the Supreme Court ruling on the Mandanas Garcia case starting next year. As we see new challenges that comes with this big shift, it is an opportune time to also consider partnerships and convergence to ease delivery of services and working environments. Vertical and horizontal collaboration have proved to be instrumental in more successfully delivering services to the people. This paved the way to creating and maintaining standards, which are great references for effective solutions and best practices, and in incentivizing and recognizing local government units to help make local officials accountable to their people. This session, entitled Synergy in Local Governance International Edition, which highlights partnerships and convergence with local government units and international partners, focusing on various programs and projects and contribution to local governance, is a perfect time to revisit how this contributed and created an impact on the continuous development of our LGUs, from which we forged new strategies in further strengthening their capacities. There have been constant efforts by the national government to partner with international organizations to support the rapid and continuous development in local government units. And in the past 30 years, concerted initiatives among LGUs, the national government and development partners on social protection, as well as in expanding and upgrading basic LGU infrastructures, services, and facilities have taken place. But more than that, programs and projects have been provided to introduce and sustain reforms in local governance, particularly in areas of local development planning, investment programming and budgeting, revenue generation, resource mobilization, urban and rural development and management, mainstreaming disaster risk management and climate change adaptation, and protecting the environment, to name a few. In pursuit of peace and inclusive development, the national government has also been implementing strategies which are anchored on the principles developed by the Institute for Economics and Peace and the Conflict Sensitive Resource and Asset Management or COSERAM program of the GIZ, which introduced tools, methods, and approaches for inclusive planning, promoting the rights of marginalized IPs, settling land disputes, promoting cooperation in managing natural resources, among others. Specifically, we at the DILG, with our mandate to strengthen the capacities of LGUs, have been at the forefront of converging the talents and assets of various instrumentalities, which is integrated into programs that not only provide funding support, but are focused on spurring local governance reforms. The partnership, for example, with UNDP under the Roads to SDGs, a project to support the implementation of the conditional matching grant to provinces, led to a more meaningful roadmap for provincial governments as elements of the Sustainable Development Goals are integrated into the road network master plans. The partnership also allowed the use of digital infrastructure to improve project management systems, which we are now also introducing to the municipalities. Another partnership of the department, which is about to conclude, is with the EU AFD-funded DRMIS, or the Disaster Risk Management and Institutional Strengthening Project, which aims to contribute in strengthening the DRRM CCA capacities of the LGUs in all phases of disaster preparedness. We also have a renewed partnership with the World Bank in benchmarking the performance of LGU-run facilities, which will enable us to tailor-fit the capacity development interventions to be provided to LGUs. The Asian Development Bank has also been extending support to the department to improve LGU's public financial management systems and processes, as well as in the automation of planning and prioritization tools, which is very timely as LGUs will again be updating their local development plans. Focusing on strengthening the capacities of the LGUs in various aspects of local governance will enable them to sustain exemplary performance in their mandates and eventually lead to the fulfillment of the promises of full devolution. While we can all agree that we are yet to reach the desired destination, we can also say that our LGUs are getting closer and closer to achieving these goals. One fundamental truth we observe to hold true through time and which we hold dear is that we can only achieve great things by working in unity with other units, organizations, and institutions within and outside the government. Malaki ang hamon sa atin, hindi lamang ngayon na may pandemya, kundi sa lahat ng panahon, lalo na sa pagpapatupad ng mga serbisyong pampubliko dahil mabigat ang responsibilidad na pinagkatiwala sa atin ang maging tulay sa pag-angat ng kalidad ng buhay ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino. But with all our combined efforts and compassion, we will surely be able to achieve great things, probably faster than we think is possible. We hope that through this forum, we will be able to get across the message that true empowerment of the LGUs, although fueled by the local government code, is driven through the active participation of all stakeholders and involvement of key development partners in the process of achieving full devolution. It is therefore crucial at this point to continue the partnership that we have started. We recognize that the transition next year will not be easy, neither for the national nor for the local governments, as it is also an election year, but we trust that our collective preparation towards full devolution will complement our shared vision for the nation in 2022 and beyond. There is very little in the world more fulfilling for development workers like us than seeing all our hopes and dreams for the country being realized through the synergistic efforts of various entities that truly care for the welfare of the Filipinos. On behalf of the department, I would like to take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our partners, the local government units, other government and non-government instrumentalities, and of course, our international development organization partners who we give recognition to in this session. We believe that each of our roles is crucial in seeing all our initiatives come to fruition, and that through effective partnership and by persevering to work for the greater good and the good of our country, we will be able to fulfill the promises of meaningful devolution. Thank you very much. May this be an insightful and fruitful morning for all of us. And let me also say, welcome to this fourth session of the Philippine Local Government Forum. Maraming salamat at magandang umaga pong muli.
Maraming salamat po, Director Rolene Zambales, for giving us really valuable points on strengthening partnership, recognizing the contributions of international and local partners toward devolution. Now, batiin lang po natin ang ilan pong mga opisyal na nandito. Kasama na natin live sa Zoom. Nandito po si Mayor Jogani Rarang, Mayor Marcos Mamay Nunungan, Mayor Francis Faustino D., Mayor Esterlina Aguinaldo, LGU Talugtog Mayor's Office. Nandito rin po si Mayor Adi Lazaro, Mayor Esterlina Aguinaldo at ang mga provincial governors and vice governors naka-tune in din po. And now, it is time to proceed to the first discussion of our speaker from the World Bank. Our speaker joined the World Bank in September 2020 as a senior water supply and sanitation specialist. She spent more than 20 years in the private sector and occupied various senior management positions in 2 water companies in the Philippines. She spent 3 years consulting for private companies on water and wastewater projects. She also has a specialization which includes program and project management, regulation, public-private partnership, business development, water quality, wastewater treatment, and let us all welcome Ms. Maria Fiorella Fabella. Good morning po, Ms. Lala. Good morning po. Si Ma'am Lala? Sige po, habang hinihintay po nating marinig sa ating linya ng communication si Ms. Lala. Again, good morning sa lahat. Naririnig po tayo sa live sa Facebook natin at sa Zoom. Okay. Gamitin pa rin po natin ang ating mga official hashtag. Sige po, mukhang ready na po si Ms. Lala. Good morning po, Ma'am Lala. Hindi pa rin po natin naririnig. Ma'am Lala, may you configure your audio? Okay. Hindi pa rin po, ma'am. Opo. Sige. Habang hinihintay po nating makabalik si Ms. Lala sa ating linya ng communication today, no? hitik na hitik yung ating mga discussions na na-expect this morning. Ngayon po, naka-live pa rin po tayo sa ating Facebook Live at ganoon din sa ating YouTube live streaming. Gamitin lang po natin ang ating mga official hashtags, no? Ang hashtag PLGF 2021. Okay. Tingnan po natin, nakabalik na po ata si Miss Lala. Again, good morning and virtual round of virtual claps, no? For Miss Lala Fabella of World Bank here in the Philippines. Miss Lala? Hindi pa rin po natin naririnig, Ma'am Lala.
Hello?
Okay. Yes po, yan. Naririnig ka na po namin. Magandang umaga po, Ma'am Lala.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for that. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Can you see my screen, Earl?
Yes po.
Okay. All right. Good morning. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. I'd like to thank DILG and Local Government Academy for this invitation. Good morning to RD Maria Lourdes Agustin, Assistant RD Annalyn Baltasar Cortez, Director Rolin, Executive Director Thelma Vecina, all the mayors and our partners in local governance. Magandang umaga po. Ako po si Lala Fabella. I'm a Senior Water Supply and Sanitation Specialist at the World Bank. And very recently, we started this partnership with DILG. We started last year with an intent, an objective to do a benchmarking of local government-run water utilities. And in doing so, we use this tool, which is also very new. It's a global tool being used by the World Bank and which was also at the time being piloted all over the world. Ang tawag po ay Utility of the Future. We are saying that this tool, which is again being tested all over the world right now, leads to better water services and better utilities. And I will explain how this is done. No? So, we all know this, that based on the local government code, which is now 30 years old, no? LGUs are ultimately responsible for the provision of the most basic need, which is water and sanitation services. And the LGUs can do this. The LGUs can provide the services in various forms. No? They can operate and develop their own water systems, can form water districts, partner with the private sector, authorize franchises, and encourage community-based service providers like yung mga BAWASA. So we all know this, that there are many ways by which the LGUs can provide water and sanitation services. And in one LGU, you will be able to see sometimes a combination of these partnerships, a combination of these operations. So hindi lang siya isang LGU, isang water district. Minsan, one LGU, merong water district, meron din community-based, and meron pa rin minsan LGU-operated systems. But ultimately, regardless of who's doing the operations, the LGUs are responsible. And this is emphasized all the more with the Mandanas ruling. And most of the common issues I've listed down po, no? Common issues of the LGUs in terms of provision of water supply and sanitation are water supply insufficiency, kulang ang tubig, no? Mataas ang losses or high non-revenue water, kulang ang human resources, mababa ang pagkukolekta, mababa ang taripa, kulang ang pondo to improve and expand facilities, and some LGUs also have a concern on the quality of water. Now, these issues are sometimes current challenges of LGUs. Some LGUs are already experiencing these challenges. And some are for future. No? Nakikita na future challenge ito ng mga LGU, especially for water quality, because the more we abstract groundwater, especially in coastal areas, may risk of salinity, no? Saline intrusion. And also water supply insufficiency as the population continues to grow. Definitely the water supply also has to grow. So ito po ay a combination of current and future challenges of the LGUs on service provision. Explain ko po, no? Kwentuhan ko kayo dun sa utility of the future. Sabi natin, ano yung utility of the future? Ang sabi dito, a utility of the future provides reliable, safe, inclusive, transparent, and responsive water supply and sanitation services through efficient, resilient, and sustainable operations. Medyo mahaba siya and marami siyang mga words, no, descriptions. But essentially, it's saying what type of services will be ideal, and then how to perform this service or how to provide these services. So the what and the how. No? And so the utility of the future uses this framework po. It looks at ensuring there are the essential processes to ensure the efficiency and continuity of services by measuring yung performance or the output, no, the kind of services, and the maturity of the organization providing the services are measured. No? And then it's also future-oriented. It doesn't stop at providing for the current challenges, but also looks at the future challenges by staying one step ahead in the rapid-paced environment. For example, bigla tayo na COVID, are the water utilities or where the water utilities prepared? No? Kasi ang una nating sinasabi na solution or not a solution, but a way out is to, or to protect ourselves is to wash hands, and therefore we need water. So this is essentially the framework of the utility of the future. And this is the success pyramid. And ang ultimate apex is the service to customers. But to be able to provide that service, marami pong supporting factors. You need the right commercial and technical operations, backed up by the right financial management, human resource management, the right organization and strategy. And all of this is working inside a proper and appropriate legal framework and governance. Ano po yung sasabing legal framework and governance? Ito po yung, in terms of Metro Manila, this would be the concession agreement between MWSS and the concessionaires. For LGUs, this could be the local ordinances related to water and sanitation and all the other regulations. No? Like if you're under NWRB regulation, then you follow the NWRB tariff setting for LUA for the water districts. And at any time, nagbabago po yan. Nagbabago po ang mga environment that we work on. No? Local ordinances can come in, no? And even the concession agreement of the Metro Manila concessionaires, nabago po rin yan recently. And also people retire, people move on, etc. But this organization maintain its integrity to support the service to customers. But aside from that, no, aside from ensuring the service to customers, a utility of the future also looks at innovation or introducing novel methods, including people disadvantaged to take part, market and customer orientation, that it operates like a firm in a competitive environment, and more importantly, the resilience, no? The ability to anticipate and withstand difficult situations like yung pandemic. So ito po yung buong framework ng utility of the future. Yung triangle po sa loob, that is measured in terms of performance and maturity of the utility. And I will show an example later on, but let me show you how it's done. So ang utility of the future, how does it work? No? Essentially, we start with a diagnostic assessment, utilizing a set of very specific questions. So we're able to measure yung triangle sa gitna. No? So we're able to measure the performance and the maturity. So that's learning from the past. From the assessment, we develop action plans with the utility. No? Ano yung mga important items, priority items that we can do in a short term, let's say 100 days. Then what can you do in the midterm and in the long term? So that's challenging the present. And then eventually at the end of this UOF, we have a 5-year strategic plan for the LGU utility. So this 5-year strategic plan will be a guide for the long-term and continuous improvement of the utility. So essentially, the utility is able to create its own future with this program. So again, the utility of the future looks at the past, learning from it, challenges the present, but by actually doing, no, not just planning the action plans, and creating the future. So ito po essentially yung scope ng utility of the future. And just to give you an example, this was piloted in Metro Manila first with the Metro Manila concessionaires. Then there are water districts. We haven't done the water districts yet. We haven't done the UF for the water districts, but there are over 500 water districts in the Philippines. No? And then you have the more than 800 local government run utilities. So what we did for the pilot, we piloted the UF in partnership with DILG. We chose 10 pilot LGUs. No, these are LG run utilities. Iba po ang kanyang mga operation system. Merong economic enterprise, merong under the Office of the Mayor, under the Office of the Engineering Services, etc. So with this pilot, which we started this year, we started the pilot this year for these 10 LGUs. We started working with them on the diagnostic assessment. And right now, we have just launched yesterday the start of their 100-day action plan. So based on the assessment, nag-identify sila ng actions that they can do for 100 days, and now is the implementation period. So just an example, on the left, you would see, ito po yung tinatawag naming cobweb, no? Ang Metro Manila concessionaire having world-class UOF standards, no? Makikita nyo po yung kaninang triangle natin sa loob, no? Performance and maturity. So yung performance niya, yung light green, and then yung blue, yung maturity. So as you go bigger, as the web becomes bigger, it becomes more mature, better performance. And then yung sa orange naman circle po, you can see na pagka wider yung orange, then mas kinoconsider na nila yung utility of the future aspects of innovation, inclusion, etc. So if you look at, in comparison, no, one of the LGU run water service provider, well, this is expected, no, in terms of maturity, performance, UOF. So this is the kind of diagnostic assessment. And ito pong figure na to was derived from going through a set of very specific questions. So in this case, the LGU run water service provider is elementary to well-performing. Okay. So after the diagnostic assessment, again, action plans were identified by the LGU run service provider. Okay. Like I said, wala naman pong surprise to. No? We all know that Metro Manila concessionaires are ahead, no? With most of the LGUs outside Metro Manila. But why do we need, or what's the advantage of using the UOF framework? Una po, it allows for a quick, comprehensive, and it's customizable, no, assessment of all the important aspects. Remember the triangle of a utility. We were able to do this in a few workshops, no, all online with the 10 pilot LGUs. It's not just quantitative. No? We will not just ask you what your NRW is, no? Most of which is hindi naman madaling malaman, no? But you also ask the important questions of how you do things, no? And in that way, na-check natin, no? And then it's forward-looking. And this is it allows the utility to define its own desirable level and action item. Okay, so alam naman natin that not all the LG-run utilities can move up that fast, no? So kailangan din yan na they define their own desirable action, no, level. And at the same time, we can leave it with the LGU, and it could be a constant measurement. So they can measure how the cobweb is maybe expanding over time. And then it's also a planning tool because it will lead you to action plans. And as I said, the orange circle, it pushes the resilience innovation, which in this world is very important, especially with all this pandemic, in this pandemic situation. I leave you with this slide. This is an online workshop we did with our counterparts in DILG. And some comments, no, from the LGUs which have gone through this. UOF reinforced their direction to expand sanitary coverage and accelerate non-revenue water reduction, diversity and inclusiveness policy, etc. We'd also like to show a short video of one of the LGUs which were part of the pilot, no, for this UOF. So if we can show that, please. Thank you.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Ang DLG po ang nagbigay katuparan sa matagal ng pangarap ng bawat mamamayan ng Pura. Ang magkaroon ng malinis, ligtas at tuloy-tuloy na supply ng tubig. Sa nakalipas na 5 taon, kayo po ang naging tulay upang mayatid ang malinis na tubig sa bawat sambahayan sa 16 na barangay ng Pura. Sa pagribisa ng mga planong magpapabuti sa pamamahala ng Pura Water System, kayo pa rin po ang aming kasama at matibay na sandigan. Kami po ay lubos na nagpapasalamat sa DILG, Office of the Project Development and Services Water Supply and Sanitation, at sa World Bank sa pagkakataon po na ibinigay niyo sa amin na mapabilang sa 10 pangunahing LGU para sa programang Utility of the Future. Layunin po nitong maisaayos at mapaghusay ang aming pamamahala sa aming water utility upang matugunan ang pangangailangan ng bawat mamamayan sa malinis at ligtas na tubig. Maraming salamat po sapagkat lagi po kayong nakaalalay sa lahat ng aming gawain upang lalo namin mapaigting ang pagsiservisyo sa aming bayan. Agyaman kami ti Aduapo, mabuhay ang DLG at World Bank.
First and foremost, allow me to thank the Department of the Interior and Local Government, Office of the Project and Development Services, Water Supply and Sanitation, for choosing our humble municipality to be among the 10 pilot LGU-run water utilities in the Philippines to be involved in this significant undertaking, and to the World Bank for bringing to us the Utility of the Future program and consistently assisting us in the assessment of our utility and in the development of our 100-day action plan and our performance improvement plan. Since 2016, the DILG has been a constant partner in the development of our water utility. It ensured that the assistance provided to our LGU encompasses both soft and hard program to guarantee that our utility can withstand the test of time and hence a utility of the future, resilient and sustainable. We always think of ways to improve our service delivery, but we always find it difficult to start. We do not know where and how to begin. Assessing our service delivery is a very difficult task. More so to strategize and develop a plan to aid our utility. We don't deny the fact that Puro water system needs a lot of sharpening to improve, especially in terms of service delivery, operations, and management. This is what we are agitated at first, because once we join the UOF, we will not discount the ins and outs of the Puro water system, because the result of the very tedious assessment will depend on the information we will provide. Surprisingly, the result of the very tedious assessment using the UOF assessment tool shows that the current level of service has reached the utility of the future status for two parameters, well performing in the other two parameters and basic for the other one. The UOF is a very useful tool in monitoring the operation of the Puro water system and in ensuring that it is properly and sustainably managed. It will also serve as a trigger for us to improve and strengthen our utility. For a forecast municipality like Pura, the very limited financial resources, always the greatest challenge in implementing the programs, projects, and activities to bolster the utilities' key performance indicators. Nevertheless, with the very efficient revenue generation capacity of the LGU, specifically the Puro water system, backed up by service-oriented leaders, and of course, with the full support of the DILG and the World Bank, we are hoping that all the PPAs in the UOF 100-day action plan, the strategic plan, will be realized. To reach the utility of the future status inspires us to work harder and do even better. We intend to implement all the programs, projects, and activities that we have incorporated in our plans by engaging all our development partners to ensure inclusivity, transparency, and accountability. It is indeed a blessing to have been provided with this program. Being a part of the UOF means a lot, especially for us, a fourth-class municipality. We all have a role to play in making our utility is sustainable. And this initiative will help us overcome all the challenges, improve our service delivery, and achieve what we envision for a water system to be, a utility of the future. We have once dreamed of a community where everyone has an access to safe water, and now it is fulfilled. I believe that our dream to be a world-class utility of the future for a water system is not far-fetched. We only have to remain steadfast in our unwavering commitment to provide our clienteles with the best water services and keep up the synergy with our partners, the DILG and the World Bank. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po ang DILG at ang World Bank.
Thank you, Earl. That's the end. Maraming salamat po. Good morning.
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Fiorella or Miss Lala Fabella of World Bank Philippines and the Pura Municipal Government for their wonderful sharing on their LGU-run water utilities. I am sure many of us here have gained a lot of critical and innovative insights on how we can better manage our utilities, especially in the water sector, in view of the current developments and mindful of the projections of the future. Napakaganda nitong sinasabing utility of the future. Bago lang actually to sa aking pandinig. And I hope the LGUs can really integrate these concepts and frameworks in their plans and their respective devolution transition efforts. Next naman po, ituloy-tuloy na natin ang ating makabuluhang diskusyon. We now have an esteemed expert from the United Nations Development Program or UNDP here in the Philippines. Our speaker started his career in Haiti in 2002 as a program associate in UNDP's Poverty Reduction Unit before relocating to the former Bureau for Crisis Prevention and Recovery in the Strategic Planning Unit in the UNDP headquarters in New York, backstopping the technical teams deployed to country offices as part of the corporate response to crisis and crisis preparedness. Mr. Edwin was UNDP Deputy Resident Representative in Algeria from 2017 to 2021, covering a broad range of issues from program formulation to delivery, partnership building, resource mobilization, monitoring of UNDP program and operations effectiveness, results-based management, and representation of UNDP in key fora. As of September 2021, Edwin is appointed as UNDP DRR in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Mr. Edwin Carey of UNDP. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Dear national partners from DLIG, national partners from local governments, local chief executives, local Sangguniang members, representative of the leagues. Thank you for the invitation to UNDP to join this very momentous occasions, which is the celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Local Government Code. I take great pride in participating in that event and in the very long-term, long-standing cooperation between UNDP and DILG and the Local Government Academy in the Philippines. This is yet another important milestone, and UNDP is very proud and pleased to be associated with this important effort. Consistent with the aspiration of the local development codes, efforts of local government to deliver basic services, we recognize the dimensions and the size of the challenges that awaits the Philippines. So we really recognize the efforts that local governments are deploying at this moment to improve service delivery and the management of public space. Local governments units, they are at the forefront of citizens' engagement. Because as we may all recall and realize, local governance is first and foremost about the citizen, about the service to the citizen. Effective local governance is at the heart of all efforts to achieve the sustainable development goals. Local governance is meant to support a broader national policy framework and agenda to leave no one behind, as per the agenda of the UN Secretary General. Countries have recognized that many of the roadblocks to achieving the SDGs, such as non-income, poverty, and inequality, must be addressed or can be addressed through SDG localization and by improving local and urban governance. And along this line, UNDP has been supporting many countries in the world, including the Philippines, working with national and local governance, and working with national and local governance and community-based stakeholders in the following areas. Area number one, strengthening inclusive decision-making. Local governance is, of course, about citizens' participation, citizens' voice. We have been supporting public participation in strengthening the voice of the most vulnerable groups by using innovation, technology, social media, as is necessary to ensure that the needs of the most marginalized are met and that evidence is supported by scientific high-quality data and that the fundamental rights of people are being protected. As a second broad area, UNDP is also working on strengthening local governance and innovation for the SDGs. The emphasis on local governance and innovations allows UNDP to work at both the national and local level to help innovate, strengthen governance systems, but also enhance local governance capability to address complex problems, such as, for example, COVID-19. So the third, I would say, big area, significant area, is SDG localization. How the Agenda 2030 translates into specific goals at the local level. To localize SDGs, UNDP advocates for an integrated programmatic framework with 5 enablers, working at the institutional level, so policy and institutional frameworks, data ecosystem for data-driven governance decisions, multi-sector engagement. UNDP is all about the participation in the governance mechanisms, financing, and of course, innovation that cuts across the four previous sectors. In the Philippines, in the past 30 years, UNDP has been working with national government agencies and local government units to strengthen local governance so that local services, administrative services, can be delivered more efficiently and more effectively. There is a recognition of the power of data in local government units. For example, UNDP has been working with several local government units on the Delve Live Plus initiatives, or development through local indicators and vulnerability exposures. Delve Live is a system, is a tool, is a pilot tool that comes in addition, in complement to existing systems to help collect, organize, visualize, and manage baseline data and information at household level, on building structures, and on production areas. The idea is to help, to assist national and local authorities, of course, in constructing socio-economic indicators that can influence policy making. The idea of Delve Plus is to inform resource allocation, for example, prioritization of barangays based on observed needs, based on data, and ultimately, of course, supporting local governments in improving living conditions for the communities that they serve. As a concrete example of what Delve Live is accomplishing in partnership with national and local government, in Vegan City, for example, This application has collected data on 12,000 households, which is a bit more than 40,000 individuals. And this data has been able to influence, for example, local COVID-19 vaccination programs. DevLive also has been used to influence the building socioeconomic profiles in updating the comprehensive land use plans. Programs also for the elderly and the youth have been influenced by data provided by DevLive, as has been, for example, programs on the monitoring for the vulnerable farms to African swine flu. So this side of DevLive have been sort of using data from citizens to help formulate policy. But DelveLive is also about giving a voice to citizens, which means not only extracting data and information from citizenry, but also providing citizenry with a conduit to formulate, I would say, their views and their demands in terms of services. So DelveLive, for example, aims to also empower citizens through technology to support the government, to provide inputs, to provide feedback on and critical information needed for effective planning, monitoring, and evaluation of development projects with a view of achieving the SDGs. In many countries, including the Philippines, governments have realized that digital is the way to go. As they say, digital and data is the new oil. So particularly, governments have been interested in reaching out to citizens and to go deeper, to probe into complex development issues and trying to find solutions in a participatory fashion. In partnership with the Ministry of Interior and Local Government in BARM, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, UNDP has been implementing a program to improve service delivery in the BARM local government units and the ministries through digital transformation. This partnership between UNDP and the Ministry of Local Government in BARM is about analyzing delivery processes from the perspective of both the service provider, so the government side, local government side, but also from the service recipient, the citizen. In more concrete terms, this cooperation in BARM has led to the simplification of some pilot services from the service provider side, which is MILG, the Ministry of Local Government in BARM, but also the municipalities in Butig in Piagapo. So on the service provider side, this cooperation has led to the more simplified issuance of Sangguniang members barangay eligibility certifications, but also a simplified process for application for travel authority, and also from the citizen side, an application for the registration for birth certificate and an application for business permits, mayor's permits. So these two sides of the service on a pilot basis, there have been an attempt to make them smoother, to make them more accessible. And in the near future, to house e-services or electronic services, UNDP is cooperating with local governments on what we call the digital Bangsamoro portal. So in the coming weeks, more LGUs and BARM ministries are going to come together in a design lab that is meant to analyze and try to increase and simplify digital services. So in other words, this lab will be the opportunity to have a look at a set of local services and prioritize based on needs, based on data, and with a view to improve service delivery to BARM's residents in the next year. As another token of cooperation between UNDP and BARM local government units, there also been work on the recovery planning. It is a product meant to equip local government with additional knowledge and skills to craft responsive, timely, relevant, sustainable, and inclusive recovery plan when disasters strike. So on one hand, there is this collaborative work on recovery, a participatory process to design a recovery plan. But UNDP is also working, initiating work with the government at national level to support what we call local resilience, which is providing communities and local government units with the tools, knowledge, resources to be able to recover, to prevent or to adapt more efficiently to future natural disasters, but also to be better positioned to respond. Those are a few and interesting initiatives between the government and at local level and UNDP. There are many others, and of course, my colleagues will be on hand to respond to sort of more pointed questions. But in closing, I would like to first, of course, congratulate the government of the Philippines and the people of the Philippines for the very significant Mandana's ruling, Mandana Garcia ruling, which in our view is a game changer in the local governance, whereby local governance units will be more empowered, will be, of course, more accountable to citizens, will be more scrutinized. So this is really a strategic moment in the life, in the governance life of the country, and citizens will have higher expectations. And this is thus a challenge that UNDP remains available, willing, and very engaged into tackling together with the government of the Philippines. So we are working diligently with the LIIG and other government agencies on first reviewing on a demand basis the technical and institutional capacity of the LGUs to implement the Mandana's ruling, the capacity to absorb new funds, the capacity in terms of human resources, technical operations, local leadership, procurement, management, etc. We are also working on a study to be able to nuance citizens' feedback and civil society empowerment on the issue of increased internal revenue allotment, or what is the view of the citizen, how does the citizen view a post-Mandana Philippines in terms of service delivery, in terms of utilization of tax revenue for service delivery. We are also working on this study on the impact of the COVID-19 crisis. So these are just a few of the sort of elements of future cooperation. And in closing, let me reiterate the importance, if there is a need, of a local government that is close, that is accountable to local citizens, that is at the service of local citizens, to accelerate, I could say, the development trajectory of the Philippines toward achieving the SDGs. Human development happens at the local level, and local governance is the instrument that can facilitate achievement of the SDGs. Economic governance, environmental governance, issue of resilience at the local level, issues of gender, of youth, all the governance decisions that are being taken are going to have an extremely important influence on all these policy agendas. And these decisions are going to be made, these decisions are going to be increasingly taken at the local level. hence the importance of the Mendana's ruling that provides local government units with the tools and with the financial muscle to and implement policy ideas at the local level. Good local governance is fundamental, and government is much more than government actions. It's about local governments, it's about national governments working in synergy, but many other actors also have a key role to play, including civil society, including private sector, including the academia sector. So all of these can come together to formulate a vision for the future of the Philippines, for a greener, more sustainable, and more inclusive local governance system. UNDP, I'm here to reiterate UNDP Philippines' commitment to support Philippines to achieve its full potential. Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edwin Carey of the UNDP here in the Philippines. Actually, for the benefit of many, each of us can download the DevLive app, the mobile app, to give feedback directly concerning various local development projects. Again, that's DevLive. If you want to check in your Play or App stores, a joint project by the UNDP and various government agencies, including us here in the DILG. Truly, we agree with Mr. Edwin that it is important for us to really ensure and intensify public participation and giving voice to the citizens through the use of innovative and pioneering mechanisms and technology towards data-driven leadership and governance. Indeed, our session is getting more interesting, but before we further go to the next discussant, we will now have a 5-minute break. We encourage everyone to grab some coffee or drinks, as we will surely continue to bring you fresh and meaningful insights about the roles of international agencies and institutions in local governance. Stay tuned. Welcome back sa ating lahat. Narito pa rin po tayo sa Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021. Ituloy-tuloy na natin ang ating talakayan. Ngayon naman, kasama natin ang ating speaker mula sa German Development Cooperation or GIZ. Ang ating speaker ay mula sa Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu at mas kilala siya bilang Tuning, a licensed forester by profession with a master's degree in environmental studies. He has been working in GIZ for 9 years now. He also functioned as a former senior advisor on disaster risk management, working on local flood early warning system and DRM governance from 2012 to 2014. He also was the former senior advisor for the Global Initiative on Disaster Risk Management, focusing on the Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand from 2015 to 2019. And now, he serves as the current regional coordinator for development of private partnership program in agriculture, working on SDG Cocoa project from 2019 to the present. Let us all give our virtual claps for Mr. Antonio Balang Jr. Guten Morgen. Good morning, sir.
Magandang umaga, Earl. Musta? Maayong buntag sa tanang Bisaya na naminaw karon. So, I will try to share my screen. How will I do that? Okay, here. All right, can you see now my screen?
Yes, sir. Kita po namin. Hindi pa nga lang po, sir, naka-full screen.
Okay, sige. Teka muna, i-open ko muna yung yung timer ko so that I will be on time for the time allotted to me. So, good morning, everyone. And in behalf of the German Development Cooperation, I would like to express our gratitude for inviting us to be part of the celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Local Government Code of the Philippines. Thank you so much, DILG NCR Regional Director Maria Lourdes Agustin. So madali ko pong natandaan yung apelyido niyo kasi I was once having an office sa Local Government Academy. Then yung building namin doon sa Ortigas is yung Agustin 1 building. So yun natatandaan ko kagad si Ma'am Maria Lourdes. Thank you so much also Director Roland Sambales of DILG Office of Development Services. And of course, sa aking kababayan, si Director Telma Vicina ng DILG Local Government Academy. Okay nga agahain, ma'am. So the title of my presentation is Ensuring Coherence in Localizing Climate Change and Disaster Risk Reduction in the Philippines. The outline of my presentation, first, I will discuss the overview of the project, how it was developed. Then, what are the link of this local initiative to international agreement that Philippine government has been participated. For example, yung Paris Agreement, Sendai Framework for Action, at saka yung SDG. Then of course, ilalatag ko yung framework of intervention namin nung ginagawa namin to ang proyektong ito. Then of course, what are the contribution of this project to local governance in general. Then, since nagtapos yung project, nung nagsimula yung in the middle of the pandemic, so I want to share also our summary and lesson learned for this item. Okay, so for the project overview, by the way, yung GIZ pala is, as you have seen in my background, is celebrating 58th anniversary of the bilateral cooperation with the Philippine government, meaning 20 years before the enactment of local government code. GIZ is already here in the Philippines working bilaterally with the Philippine government. Then there's a lot of local government initiated project that we have, no, from the CLUP in Region 8. Then there's a lot, water project, there's a lot. But on this particular topic, I would like to discuss with you the Global Initiative on Disaster Risk Management. Actually, yung project na to is nagtapos na. It was started 2018. Then, yung actual implementation natapos siya ng October 2020, ilang buwan nang idiniklara yung pandemic. Then, hindi nga kami nakapag formally close with DILG, LG kasi during the time talagang ang hirap pa ng restriction sa paglabas. Alright? So, yung proyektong ito is more focusing on the deepening of understanding of coherence. No? So, tiningnan namin dito yung Paris Agreement, as I've mentioned earlier, yung Sendai Framework for Action, ito yung batas related sa disaster risk reduction or agreement, and at the same time, yung Sustainable Development Goal. Paano siya ilo-localize sa local government unit, then how the local government unit feels about it. So yun yung unang objective ng study. Then, in-intensify din natin dito yung regional exchange between policy and practice, na kung saan mas nagiging focus kami doon sa pag-bring up ng mga national government agency na parang hindi siya traditional DRR practitioner. Kasi pag sinabi mong DRR agencies ng gobyerno, ito yung mga National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, Office of Civil Defense. So tinitingnan namin sino ba yung talagang nag-involve sa local government unit at ano yung nagiging participations nila in shaping the local government policy in terms of introducing this international agreement that Philippine government has been engaged on. So alam nyo na yung tinutukoy ko. It's the DILG, the Local Government Academy. So yung proyekto na to is nagsimula talaga. We started implementing this particular project 2015. So local flood early warning system, tapos yung local flood early warning system, sinusubukan namin siyang itahi or ipasok doon sa konsepto ng budgeting. Kasi kung yung company namin, yung GIZ is mag-implement ng ganitong proyekto without looking at it, the sustainability in terms of maintenance of that gadget that we have put in every local government unit, after the project life, it will end. No? So wala na rin yun. So sinubukan namin yung DRM governance on this particular aspect. So in one forum, international forum, way back 2015, I think it's the Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, nagkasama kami ni Director sa Sindoncillo sa isang technical sessions na kung saan i-present ko yung present ko yung sustainable development management framework na tinatawag naming model in terms of spatial planning at the local government unit para makita, no, kung gaano ka grabe yung risk in a specific area, then what specific intervention or development yung i-present lang doon. Then of course, pinasok ko rin dito yung konsepto ng local flood early warning system. Then by then, Director sa Sindoncillo of Local Government Academy noong 2015, pareho kami nagka-interest sa mga sessions namin. After that sessions, nag-usap kami kasama si Yusik Panadero. Then sinabi natin, magandang pag-usapan siguro pagbalik natin sa bansa, pag-usapan natin yung coherence aspect. Paano ba natin i-implement ng maayos itong mga international agreement at the local level. So doon nabuo kasi kung titingnan mo yung picture dito sa upper right corner, ito yung tinatawag nating agenda overload, no? Na kung saan ang daming pumapasok sa table ng local government unit, pero kung titingnan mo based on the outline here, no? For example, sustainable development at the national level, NEDA yan. Pag sinabi mong Sendai Framework, OCD, NDRMC yan. Pag sinabi mong Paris Agreement, Local Climate Change Commission yan. The regional level, ganun yung setting. Pero pag pumapasok yan sa local government unit, lahat yan salo ni Mayor, lahat yan salo ni Governor. So doon namin sinimulan yung pag-uusap, paano ba ito hina-handle effectively ng mga local government unit. So baka tingnan natin yung coherence on this particular aspect para naman mapadali yung buhay ng mga local government unit. So yun yung una naming pag-uusap. So nagkonsepto ng project. Then I think yung framework na napag-usapan namin ni Yusik Panadero, ni Yusik Sasindoncillo, yun na ngayon yung parang nasisimulang framework na ginagamit ng Local Government Academy in terms of localizing local climate change and disaster risk reduction. So the main goal basically of our project is the cooperation is facilitating coherence, planning, implementation, and reporting mechanism at the local level. Then, of course, the alignment of DRM and CCE policies and technical guidelines set by the national agencies to the system and operational procedure and planning ng mga local government unit. Kasi sometimes, national agency implementing this particular project na mayroon tayong commitment internationally, pinapasa lang natin sa local government unit without looking paano to siya pumapasok sa system. So sabi namin, okay, since DILG yung kapado sa implementations na to, paano nga natin to ayusin? So yun yung pinaka-main goal ng project. So ito yung nakita namin. No? Nabanggit ko na sa inyo yung framework basically, no, na yung sa Sustainable Development Goal in terms of realizing this commitment, ang ginagawa natin is going to the Philippine Development Plan. Doon natin siya ina-anchor. Pag sinabi natin Paris Agreement, ina-anchor natin to siya doon sa National Climate Change Action Plan. Pag sinabi naman natin Sendai Framework for Action, ina-anchor natin to siya sa NDRRMF. So pagkadating sa local government unit, as I have mentioned earlier, nagsasalimbayan yan. Then here comes the SIDRA. Sinasabi natin, dapat sa mga planning process, may SIDRA tayo. Ito yung Climate and Disaster Risk Assessment. So napag-agrihan na sa bawat planning process, dapat ini-implement yung SIDRA. So kung mag-implement at the local level ng Comprehensive Development Plan, may SIDRA yan. Pag ini-implement yung CLUP, may SIDRA yan. Pag ini-implement yung Climate Change sa DRR Plan, may SIDRA yan. So nauubos yung oras ng LGU is in terms of doing the SIDRA. No? So nakikita nyo na siguro yung burden ngayon. Plus, mayroon tayong 33 legally mandated local plans na gagawin yung local government unit. So what the project do? So tinignan natin yung tinatawag nating one SIDRA approach. No? So parang sinummarize yung mga content ng iba't ibang SIDRA na ini-introduce ng iba't ibang agency, including international organizations. Kasi may mga international organizations din na nag-introduce ng SIDRA. Then sometimes yung mga SIDRA na to is nagkaka-differentiate lang sa nomenclature. But in terms of doing this in the actual ground, minsan may pagkakapare-pareho. So yun yung unang ginawa. Sinama rin natin yung SIDRA. Right? Para one SIDRA approach, isang kandak lang ng SIDRA ng local government unit. Then at the same time, pag gumawa na sila ng plan, i-base na nila sa naging output ng comprehensive SIDRA na to. Then, pangalawang approach, may SIDRA na yung local government unit. Paano natin isasubsume yung mga local plans? Minsan, sinasabi at the national level, kailangan may separate na local DRR plan. At isa rin sinasabi na dapat may separate na local climate change action plan. Then, kung titingnan mo yung content ng dalawang plan, nagkakaiba lang yun in terms of outline ng mga chapters at saka mga title ng chapters. Pero kung titingnan mo, parang may pagkakapare-pareho din. So, within that time, sinabi natin, baka pwede nating pag-isahin. No? Subukan lang natin kasi 3-year project lang po. Kung ang tututukan natin CDP, hindi kakayanin. Bigay lang tayo ng sample, paano natin isasubsume yung dalawang plan na yon para isang pasada lang, may plano na kagad yung local government unit. So doon lumabas yung local resilience strategy. Nagpilot tayo ng selected local government unit dito. Tinarget natin yung buong Metro Cebu, yung 13 LGUs ng Metro Cebu. Nag-target din tayo ng Samar at Leyte at saka ng Zambales. Then eventually during the pandemic, ang nagawa lang natin yung resiliency plan ng 13 LGUs ng Metro Cebu at saka yung consolidated na resiliency plan ng buong Metro Cebu. So, yung resiliency plan na yun is naka-SIDRA based. Doon sa ginawa, sinubukan natin yung consolidated SIDRA gawin, naka-based din doon. At upon doing this, in-anchor natin to siya na dapat nagkukumply to siya doon sa requirements na sinasabi ng DBM, OCD at DILG para i-release yung specific fund. For example, yung 5% LDRM fund. Then at the same time, yung plan na magagawa is magiging reference din siya kung yung local government unit is gustong mag-engage doon sa People's Survival Fund. Alam naman natin na ito yung isa sa mga flagship program ng Climate Change Commission, yung People's Survival Fund, when the local government units is kayang mag-access ng up to 100 million pesos. So ganun ka pino ginawa yung proseso na yan para kung maisip ng local government unit to engage this People's Survival Fund by doing a proposal, submit to local climate change, to the Climate Change Commission, magiging mas smooth yung proseso nila. Alright. So with that two particular process, ano ba yung naging contribution ng project? So yun, nagpalabas tayo ng isang tinatawag na decision support toolkit. Then during the GPDRR last 2019 sa Geneva, i-present ni Ma'am Daphne Pernelden yung decision support toolkit na to doon sa global platform on DRR na meeting na yon. So ano ba yung decision support toolkit? Ito ay ang knowledge product that will aid the local government unit in efficiently conducting the climate and disaster risk assessment, specifying the non-negotiable requirements of the different SIDRA processes, and will specify the key data that is required for coherent planning processes. No? Dahil comprehensive yung SIDRA na na-come up natin, tinignan natin ano ba yung negotiable. No? Na ito lang yung gagawin ng local government unit. Then what would be those non-negotiable pala at ano yung negotiable? For example, grabe talaga yung risk ng isang municipalities, those negotiable SIDRA content ay pwede nilang tingnan. Right? Then, ang isa sa mga nakita din natin ay ang difficulty ng local government unit in conducting the SIDRA. Kasi sabi natin, pwede ba nating i-simplify? Then the result of that study sinasabing hindi. Technical talaga yung SIDRA. So sabi natin, paano gagawin yan? Yung local government unit walang capacity ganito. So ang ginawa natin is most likely tiningnan ng local government academy paano involve yung mga local institution. Like for example, dito sa slide na to, makikita ninyo na mayroon ding coherence in terms of the international agencies. Yung GIZ, kasi yung initiative in doing the SIDRA is sinubulan to siya ng ISED. Ito yung Spanish cooperation. Then nung dumating yung GIZ, sabi natin maganda yung approach na to. Sige, magkukomplement kami dito in a certain areas, then paano pa natin i-deepen yung localizing dito. So yung mga universities na nakikita ninyo dito, most of this is nakausap na ng local government academy. Yung iba naman ay plano sanang kausapin, no? Kung yung project, yung hindi talaga dumating yung pandemic. But we hope that local government academy is pushing this initiative in looking at this academic institution or state universities as local resource institute to do the SIDRA in the area. Then, ito yung sample ng mga local resilience plan na nagawa natin. No? So, nakikita ninyo dito, 13 LGUs, mayroon pong mga specific local resilience plan na deliver natin, nabigay natin yung mga copies sa kanila. Yung iba dito, minsan nag-inform pa sa atin, tapos na yung project, sinasabing, we are already past this in our local sanggunian and the budget is implemented already. So, dito naka-highlight talaga specifically paano nila tagpinino yung budget. Paano siya in-allocate in a specific percentage sa iba't ibang programs and project. Right? So, nandyan lahat yan. Makikita natin. Then, yung susunod, yung Regional Resiliency Hub. So, isang nakitang strategies dito, paano ba magkakaroon ng synergy yung mga Local Development Council, yung mga Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, at saka yung mga Local Peace and Order Council at the provincial or regional level. Kasi kung titingnan mo yung mga membership dyan, is pare-pareho. No? Sila lang. Then nagkakandak sila ng separate meeting, so nauubos yung oras sa meeting. So sabi natin, pwede kayang tingnan natin na magkaroon tayo ng Local Resilience Council na ito na yung nag-uusap sa konsepto ng peace, sa konsepto ng disaster, sa konsepto ng climate change, at sa buong concept ng comprehensive development, no? Para nako-consolidate yung effort ng mga tao na to. So unfortunately, hindi to siya napalaliman, but we have the study, no? Hindi siya na practice, na supposedly ipapilot natin yung Region 8 dito, na kung saan naging regional director din doon si Yusik sa Sindoncillo. Kaya lang talagang kinapos tayo sa panahon because of the pandemic. But we have the study on this na kung ipagpapatuloy ng local government academy or ng mga local government unit, mayroong document na nakasulat dyan na pwedeng gawin. So ito yung nakikita natin. Then, pinag-usapan din yung information and data governance. Sabi natin, pag sinabing information and data governance, ang nasa sa isip ng mga local government unit, mayroon tayong database. But mind you, information and data governance is not only the software. Kailangan dito yung manpower, legislation, at saka budget. So importanteng tinitingnan yan. No? Then, sinubukan namin gumawa ng framework. No? For example, paano ba yung input ng mga knowledge? So, paano natin kinoconsolidate yung data in a multi-sources? Kasi pag disaster data, no, maraming information, maraming pumapasok na mga figures dyan. Then yung data, paano mo siya ita-translate? No? Parang sinasubsume into a useful information. Then yung useful information, paano siya ina-analyze? At then yung analysis, paano siya nagiging knowledge para maging isang implementable policy or plan ng local government unit. So yun yung tinitingnan natin. So parang on the advent of fake news, so yung ganitong konsepto ng pag-screen ng data dapat nami-mainstream sa local government unit. Then kung mayroon ng plan at saka policies, dapat yung ginagawa dito na plan ng national government ay hindi masyadong komplikado. Dapat simplify, then towards subnational, provincial at saka local level, parang at the national level framework lang, din at the local level, binibigyan ng freedom. O ito nga yung tawag dito, devolution, yung spirit ng devolution. At the local level, nagkakaroon sila ng freedom how to implement it on the ground. Then I think naging relevant siya ngayon to, no, sa problema natin in terms of data ng COVID-19 response. I think mahalagang tingnan yung framework na to. May studying nagawa din dito yung GIDRM na itinurn over natin sa Local Government Academy na yung ganitong framework ay pwedeng magamit natin, no, sa pag-identify ng mga cases ng COVID-19 at paano po siya implement effectively at the local level. So in a nutshell, awareness of the cross-sectoral nature of risk management and promoting coherence and cooperation is non-negotiable among PRM practitioners at the local level. So yun, isa sa nakita namin. Then, supporting subnational and non-traditional disaster risk management actor in working jointly on coherent practices is a must. No? Paano natin sinusuportahan yung subnational level at yung mga non-traditional DRRM institution, yung mga planning, yung mga agriculture office. Kasi minsan pag DRR, ang tinitingnan lang natin yung talagang mga DRRM offices. Pero paano natin ini-engage yung ibang non-DRR players sa local level? Then lastly, yung fostering ng coherent understanding of risk in relevant decision makers. No? Making processes, cooperation, financing requirement, mechanism at the national, regional, at the international level. Parang at the international level naman, paano natin to siya i-deliver sa local, sa mga countries, sa mga regional, sa mga countries na parang nag-align ito doon sa mga policies na ini-implement ng each countries. Ito rin yung mga dapat tinitingnan, no, ng mga international organizations, yung coherent ng mga policies internationally doon sa local level. So what are the lessons learned? Tinatanong lagi namin, tapos na yung project, gaano ba kalaki ang kailangan nating coherence? So in the end, ang realizations namin na Yung integration will always be partial. Different priorities and autonomous nature of individual agendas. Anong ibig sabihin dito? Sa SIDRA, so pinipilit nating isimplify yung SIDRA para ikonteksto natin yung capacity ng local government unit. Pero hindi natin pwedeng isacrifice yung importance ng scientific information para mabigyan natin ng scientific calculations na effectively magre-respond doon sa risk ng community. Kaya dito, i-engage natin, no, yung mga academic institution, yung mga local resource institute para integrate dito yung mga processes. What's next? Silos can provide us support, no? Ang example natin dito yung mga local resilience structure, no? Mayroon nandiyan na yan. Local peace and order, local DRRM at saka local development council. Paano natin sila binibigyan ng support na ang mga discussions nila among the council ay coherent doon sa resilient objective natin. And lastly, never change a running system, no? So pag sinabi nating local climate change action plan, sinasabi natin kailangan punduhan ng mga local government unit to, pero pag tiningnan mo naman sa local government unit, walang source of fund. Hindi siya katulad ng disaster risk reduction and management plan na automatic sa batas mayroon kaagad 5%. But kailangan implement yung local climate change plan. So paano mo siya i-interface doon sa system ng government na mayroong pondo, which is the DRRM fund. So kaya doon lumabas yung konsepto ng local resilience plan. Then sa tingin namin, hindi man tayo nakapag-formally close, sorry kay Director BC na hindi man natin na formally close yung project na to, but I hope the documents that has been produced by the project will help us to provide a good enough coherence for the Philippines. Thank you so much.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Antonio Balang Jr. of GIZ. Actually, sir, no, it is really wonderful to see the initiatives of development agencies such as the German Development Corporation concerning DRR issues. And for sure, dito sa ating 373 participants here in Zoom, no, for sure, maraming planning development officers and LGU officials ang nakarelate dahil isa itong climate change and disaster risk reduction, no, sa mga priorities ng ating mga lokal na pamahalaan. And also here, in the DALG, we ensure that the local development plans of the LGUs are now risk-informed and climate change adaptive. And Sir Balang also perfectly pinpointed to the need for harmonizing and aligning various plans and goals. And in his discussion, it's called the local resilience strategy, no, to avoid overloading or possibly fatigue on the part of the LGUs. Napakaganda. And ngayon naman po, next naman po from Action Against Hunger Philippines, no, we have our speaker who is the consortium manager and currently handling the Move Up 4 project. Without further ado, let us all give our virtual claps for Mr. Roger Cabiles Jr. Good morning, sir.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning to our organizers, the DILG and the LGA. Good morning to our local government officials and staff present here, and also to our colleagues in the humanitarian and development sector. Magandang umaga. So let me share my screen. So we thank the organizers for letting us have this platform to share about our project and our experience working with our local government partners. We will be highlighting our partnership and synergies with our LGUs, and hopefully after this, you can find something meaningful in our presentation that you can replicate and model in your localities. So our project is Move Up, or Moving Urban Poor Communities Toward Resilience, and we are funded by the European Union. We thank the EU for their unwavering support to our initiatives in building the resilience of the Filipino communities. Move Up is a consortium of humanitarian organizations, Action Against Hunger Philippines, Care Philippines, Accord Incorporated, and Plan International. These four organizations, with their respective expertise, formed a consortium aimed at building the resilience of urban poor communities to withstand and manage the impact of natural and man-made disasters by strengthening urban disaster preparedness, response, and management capacity of national and local authorities, communities, and other stakeholders through the replication and adaptation of tested urban resilience strategies. When we say urban resilience strategies, we mean this: alternative temporary shelter systems, which aims to address emergency shelter needs during disasters, earthquakes, or fires that protects the privacy, safety, and security of our people as it conforms to the universally accepted humanitarian standards and principles. Our next strategy is on resilient livelihood. We all know how vulnerable micro and small livelihoods are to disasters and shocks. We in Move Up utilize different resilience livelihood strategies, such as organizing and strengthening community savings group as a means to strengthening their capitals. Through our CSGs, people build their networks of support to local governments, national government agencies, and other organizations and individuals that can support or connect them to services and programs. Next is our social protection strategy. Effective social protection is integral in ensuring that we lessen the impact of vulnerabilities to our people. We in Move Up advocate and share knowledge on social protection with our partner LGUs so they can better improve their social protection programs. When we say our urban resilience strategies are tested, we mean it. Our urban resilience framework and our Move Up interventions come from tried and tested implementation experience since 2016. And every year, we try to improve and enhance what we have been doing to better serve our communities. In Move Up 1, we piloted these strategies in Malabon, Quezon City, and Valenzuela. Coming from that experience, we expanded to include Navotas and Caloocan in 2017 to consolidate and refine these strategies. We proved the effectiveness of our strategies and we realized that it can be scaled up. So we did Move Up 3 to cover Metro Manila in Luzon, Cebu in Visayas, and Cotabato City in Mindanao in 2018. Now in Move Up 4, we focused on Mindanao to further expand beyond disasters to consider the conflict setting and also adapt our strategies to make it flexible in different cultural contexts. Moreover, we strengthened our national advocacy and partnered with DSWD through the Sustainable Livelihood Program. Now, we have this partnership with the Local Government Academy as we believe that capacitating our LGUs is integral in building the resilience of our people and our communities. Key to building the resilience of our communities is a strong partnership with our local government units. How can we create an enabling environment if we do not work with national government and local government units? How do we build the resilience capacities if we only focus on communities and do not involve our local government officials in the process? Many of our LGUs are proactive in partnering with us, as the Local Government Code of 1991 provided the policy context for the emergence of entrepreneurial local governments by encouraging LGUs to enter into joint ventures and partnerships with the private sector and non-government organizations, specifically Sections 3, 34, and 35. We understand and we value our partnership and good working relationship with our LGUs, and in turn, we would like to believe that our partner LGUs feel the same way. Effective partnerships require clearly written expectations, roles, and responsibilities. We have signed memorandum of agreements with our partners to create mechanisms on how these partnerships will work. We conduct regular monitoring and assessment of our partnership, and we organized a technical working group composed of key people in the local government unit to monitor and implement the partnership activities. The member of our TWGs have become resilience champions as well, advocating for our activities and our requests to different offices and even the local chief executives. We also invest in capacitating them to ensure the sustainability of our programs and strategies even beyond the project timeframe. Some examples of effective partnerships with tangible results is when the provincial government of Cotabato included a 154 million peso investment to procure alternative temporary shelter systems in their annual investment plan for 2022. Also, in anticipation of rising COVID-19 cases, the local government of Bukidnon, with support from the Regional Department of Public Works and Highway, replicated the translation of ATS into additional quarantine facilities. With funding amounting to around 10 million pesos, the ATS designs were adapted using locally available resources and materials. The replication initiative is a testament to the effectiveness of our urban resilience strategies and its relevance in different contexts. Part of our resilient livelihood strategies is forming groups to promote climate and culture-informed alternative livelihood options. Whoever said that poor people do not and cannot save? As long as they know the value of savings and its role in preparing and helping them adapt and recover from disasters and emergencies, people will save. For example, one CSG in Kidapawan already has 270,000 pesos in savings, which they use in different livelihood activities such as microlending. Some CSGs even provide support to its members through the provision of PPEs and vitamin supplements as a response to COVID-19. We build their capacities through different trainings on community-based enterprise development and business continuity planning so they can assess future risks and plan adaptation measures so their livelihoods will be able to withstand, adapt, and recover from various shocks and stresses. We've continued our capacity development programs and activities with our partner LGUs, both virtual and face-to-face. We believe that we do not just build the capacities of our people, but equally important is building the capacities of institutions. We've organized and supplemented funding for camp coordination and camp management trainings, disaster and emergency drills in the context of COVID-19, social protection and social safety net programming, and technical assistance in the development and updating of various LGU plans, such as the DRRM plan, contingency plan, among others. We value the sustainability of our initiatives, and we try our best to advocate for the integration and institutionalization of MoveUp's resilience livelihood strategies in local plans and policies. For example, in Quezon City, the LGU formed a risk transfer and resilient livelihood and sustainability fund worth 5 million pesos to be implemented by the QC Small Business and Cooperatives Development Promotions Office, together with the Social Service Development Department and the QCDRRMO. In Caloocan City, the RL strategies were integrated under the Housing and Resettlements Office for the informal settlers. Meanwhile, in Valenzuela, LGU allocated 1.5 million pesos to provide microinsurance coverage to 1,000 households heads living in hazard-prone areas. These are just some of the many policy achievements of MoveUp, and we hope to continue influencing more LGUs to adapt our strategies. Advocacy doesn't stop at the local level. In one of its result areas, MoveUp aims to hand over its strategies on urban resilience to relevant national government agencies for local dissemination and for it to be adopted and integrated in the existing capacity development programs of LGUs. That is why we have extended an invitation to collaborate with the Local Government Academy as we understand the important role of LGA as it continuously delivers quality capacity development interventions to its clientele. LGA also believes in partnership and collaboration, so we were confident that we will be heard as the institution employs strengthening partnerships as one of its key strategies. We have already conducted a number of activities with LGA. Last May, under its program for newly elected officials, we conducted a webinar executive series on mainstreaming integrated risk management that was attended by over 1,000 local government officials and staff. For the second part of the webinar executive series, we shared about mainstreaming social protection at the local level. I shared about shock-responsive social protection, while Mayor Margal of Salcedo, Eastern Samar, shared about how it can be applied in the local context, sharing their experience in building resilient, adaptive, and disaster-ready communities through anticipatory action. December 2021 is coming too fast, but we still have activities lined up for this partnership with LGA, which includes the review and development of various Operation Listo manuals, the participation of the consortium in various DILG and LGA-led platforms, the review of the online environment and DRR module for newly elected officials of 2022, and the continuous co-organization of capacity development activities such as Listong Ugnayan for local government officials. We hope that what we're building now will be a model for civil society organizations, national government agencies, and local government units working together so that local governments can get all the support they need in the exercise of their mandate on participatory governance, devolution, and autonomy. We, in MoveUp, remain committed to working together in building the resilience of the Filipino people. Muli po, maraming salamat at magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Roger Cabiles Jr. of Action Against Hunger, Philippines. Dito sa discussion ng Action Against Hunger Philippines, through the Move Up project, nakita natin ang collective capacity of communities of people to become resilient and adaptive, of course, with the help of institutional partners and organizations. Importante rin ang nabanggit ni Sir Roger, in public policy and governance, we call it institutional regime formation. That at the end of the day, it's all about capacitating and empowering people and building strong institutions. And ultimately, makikita talaga natin ang synergy of efforts ng ating relevant stakeholders in the sphere of local governance. At this point, bigyan natin ng virtual clap lahat at likes at mga heart reacts sa mga streamers natin, ang ating mga international partners for sharing valuable knowledge on how partnership and cooperation have been really critical and decisive in ensuring the success of various programs between international partners and local government units. Pagpupugay po sa lahat ng ating mga nakasama. The successes of these programs, projects, and activities have been beneficial for various communities as well as in delivering the basic services towards achieving development and growth. Ngayon naman, nais kong tawagin ang aming kasamahan dito rin sa DILG National Capital Region to serve as our moderator for the open forum. We have here our very brilliant Local Government Operations Officer of the Local Government Capability Development Division of the DILG NCR. No other than Mr. Raymond Biasis. Sir Raymond, the virtual floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Earl. Good morning, everyone. Raymond here from DILG NCR's Local Government Capability Development Division. I'll be your moderator for this session's open forum. Our speakers this morning have shared valuable insights into their efforts to assist local government units in the Philippines achieve their development objectives, highlighting the importance of capacity development and empowerment in this endeavor. This is your chance to ask our distinguished speakers questions about the role of international players in promoting good local governance and empowering local government units. Please send in your questions using the Zoom chat box so we can grab them and share them with everyone. Now, also, I'd like to invite our speakers to go back on camera. We'll be putting you in the spotlight so everyone can see you. So once again, Director Zambales, Ms. Fabelia, Sir Edwin Carey, Mr. Roger Cabiles, Sir Antonio Balang. Please come back on camera. All right, thank you so much. All right, so to get the ball rolling, since we're still waiting for our audience to send in their questions, I'd like to pose a question to all our speakers, and you may respond as you please. The Philippines is considered a lower middle income country, rich in natural and human resources, and strategically located at the crossroads of the largest economies in the world. With all of these endowments, what do you think are the most significant factors holding back our development gains? And which among these may be best addressed through assistance from international partners? You may unmute as you please, ma'am, sir.
Okay, so good morning, Raymond. So I'll take a first crack at that, which it's a very hard question you posted there. But essentially, I think you're right. We have so much resources, but very huge problems. No, we were almost there to going up into the middle income class, but unfortunately, the pandemic struck. No, just when we were on our way. No? But one of the largest, I think, one of the largest factors would be still poverty. No? Poverty remains a huge issue. There's disparity. There's a huge disparity, a gap between the the very rich and the very poor. No? So that the inclusion of growth, that's a big problem. And I think in the case of the LGUs, that's a topic that would be dear, to the hearts of all LGUs. No, so I would put this is a huge question. There are many answers to it, but I can think of that one factor. Thank you.
Should I go next? Sorry? I think you're on mute.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you. One of the key elements, I think, for economic stabilization will be, of course, the response to COVID-19. As we know, COVID-19 has crippled the economy of a large swath of countries in the world, including the Philippines. As my colleague from the World Bank was saying, before COVID, the Philippines was still on a growth trajectory. And unfortunately, we are, if I can paraphrase one of the partners from NEDA, there is the Philippines pre-COVID and there's the Philippines post-Delta. And I think this is a very, very accurate description of how the economy is behaving. So the response to COVID-19, the focused response to COVID-19, and articulated and differentiated response to COVID-19, both in terms of economic measures, but also, of course, the health response itself that is important. Climate resilience, As you know, the Philippines is facing a number of disaster events, climate events, and the financial losses from these hurricanes is very important. It counts in billions of dollars. So the focus on the adaptation and resilience to this crisis will be important to stabilize the economy, and then of course free, I would say, state budgets for social programs. Third, the issue of gender, which is very dear to the heart of UNDP. The Philippines has a very vibrant civil society, a very agile civil society. Filipino women are equally educated at Filipino men, but as in the case in many other countries in the world, the participation in the labor force is still not yet completely balanced. So there's a potential to unlock, I would say, not only economic growth, but potential in terms of human development with focusing on gender. I will stop it at that for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Lala and Sir Edwin, for those responses. So you highlighted the importance of addressing poverty, inequality, and the issue of inclusive growth. And this was exacerbated by the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic. And therefore, it's critical for the Philippines to address all of these issues related to COVID-19, both on the health governance and on the economic governance side, so that we'll be able to achieve our development targets. So thank you very much. Now, a few questions have come in particular for Ms. Lala. One of our barangay officials is asking about the quality of the water that is produced from the Utility of the Future project. Is it potable water, or is it something that still needs some processing?
Yeah, I just want to say hi to Ariel. We used to work together in Manila Water, so we know each other. Yeah, well, the Utility of the Future program itself is not for, how do you say, it's not funding any infrastructure works. It is a program for essentially assessing the LGU run water utilities in this case, and then pinpointing the direction, action plans to address current challenges, as well as planning for the future challenges. But quality is right there. It's one of the topics there that is being discussed, with the local water utilities. In fact, in our pilot run with the 10 LG run utilities, water quality was a subject, and it's part of the action plans of many of the 10 for the 100-day action plans to do something on water quality. Because when you go around the LGUs, not a lot of them are practicing the standards for Philippine national drinking water standards of the DOH. So that's one realization doing this Utility of the Future program. So that's one of the objectives, but it's not through the program that will be met. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Lala. All right. And there's a comment from one of our viewers on Facebook. So this is from Mr. Raulito Reyes, who I believe is working in an LGU in the Visayas. So he said that they have adopted the creative use of existing LGU policies, regulations, ordinances, laws, and policies to localize the global goals and agenda. And they have tweaked their hard infrastructure and private sector based sustainability and resilience criteria standards as assessments and policymaking guides at the local level. And they are now integrating this formula in their investments and incentive codes, as well as in land use planning. So I'd like to hear from Mr. Carey if you have some more inputs on how local government units may localize further the global goals.
Thank you. First, I would like to congratulate also the colleague for this very important initiative. The SDG agenda, as I was mentioning earlier in my presentation, the SDG agenda really takes form and really takes life at the local level. This is where the whole no one left behind agenda also takes shape. So I can only commend and recommend this type of initiatives and see how they connect. What's important is that those local initiatives also are part of a broader, larger, I would say, policy agenda. But it's refreshing to see that at the local level, the SDG policy agenda is already put into practical use. This is already, I would say, a very good start. At the more, I would say, central level, the government of Philippines and the UN are now working on this new initiatives on integrated national financing framework. So the idea is to come with a system where budgeting is SDG based and at the national level. And of course, such a system would benefit also from local level SDG based policy initiative.
No, thank you very much for bringing that up, sir. Because I'd like to ask a follow-up question. Since you mentioned that you're already working on integrating the financing framework and anchoring it on the global goals, the SDGs, and the global development agenda, I'd like to ask you what your recommendation would be to the Department of the Interior and Local Government and to maybe the Bureau of Local Government Finance, and as well as the Department of Budget and Management, on how local government budgeting may be improved. Because right now we have budgeting processes that focus on sectoral concerns and the thematic concerns, such as social development, economic development, environmental protection. So I'd like to seek your input. How do you suggest, or what steps do you suggest that DILG should take to further assist our local governments, especially in light of the upcoming effectivity of the Mandanas-Garcia ruling?
Okay, thank you. Very, very tough questions, and I'm going to be very, very, very humble here also. Since I arrived in the Philippines only a couple of months ago, I am going to give you an answer that I would have given probably in other contexts, because I humbly recognize that I do not know yet all the details of how the Philippines inner workings are operating. But in the global context, what is very important in terms of the SDG agenda is visibility, accountability, and accuracy in terms of policy. So what is very important, and where I think local governments can make a difference, is to try to organize the local government units in a way so that data on SDG progress from the field can drive into a national agenda in a more, I would say, systematic manner. So the quality of data, the breadth and depth of data that is sort of influencing policy advice decisions. This is the kind of initiative that I have seen in other contexts that actually improve what I call the SDG-based budgeting. So it's important to have a very clear and a very complete picture of the development environment at the local level, so that the national level policy agenda can be better informed. So in other contexts, I have seen a lot of efforts from Ministry of Interior and Local Governments to work on, I would say, strengthening the capacity of local government units to manage, collect, and produce data. And we have to remember also it's a multi-sectoral effort. For example, the Philippines, I understand there is inter-ministerial SDG committee, and I really commend that type of structure, because the SDG agenda is a global agenda. It's an intersectoral agenda. So here, the role, probably one of the key elements I would say for local governance is really the capacity to produce reliable, accurate data that reflects also the situation on the ground. I know I have not completely answered the question, but let's say that this is the perspective that I could share based on 6 weeks in the Philippines.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. And I hope you're enjoying your stay in the Philippines.
Absolutely, and I look forward to discover also all the beautiful localities in this wonderful country.
Oh yes, sir. I'm sure you will. All right, Sir Carey also mentioned earlier the importance of addressing climate change, and Mr. Balang was earlier talking about the climate and the disaster risk assessment necessity for planning. Sir, would you like to share a little more about how SIDRA can help local governments prepare and strengthen their capabilities to respond not only to natural disasters but to human-induced disasters as well?
Okay, I think my GIZ colleague was actually very eloquent on the issue of the local resilience. Local resilience is a very, very important aspect, I would say, for the acceleration towards achieving the SDGs. Sorry. So the key aspect is not only, I would say, the capacity to respond to disasters, but also to anticipate and also to withstand shocks, which means the whole ecosystem of preparation for crisis needs to take more and more the center stage. It's important. It's good to respond and to recover, and it's better to do it on a anticipatory mode, on a prevention mode. So and anticipating crisis and getting prepared, knowing that some weather events are unavoidable, but it's all about the level of preparedness, so the capacity development, the knowledge and skills, the tools, the resources, and of course the partnerships with civil society. And I'm very keen on partnership with civil society at the local level. We have seen during COVID-19 a lot of innovative solutions for against not only weather events, but also COVID-19. These innovative solutions, they have come from the private sector. They have come from civil society. They have come from local communities. So this is for me, it's a very important point that a participatory planning process happens at the local level that takes into consideration the expertise that is already available within the Philippines, within the Philippines society. So resilience is both the duty bearers of course on the government side, but also the rights holders, the communities also. They have innovative solutions to contribute and to maximize, I would say, the resilience. It will be important to rely on also the ideas and successes from civil society.
Thank you so much for those inputs, sir. Sir Balang, would you like to add? Because the point that was raised earlier about prioritizing prevention is already something that's part of our disaster risk reduction and management framework in the Philippines. So maybe you could share, sir, some of your experiences.
All right. Thank you so much, Raymond. Then before I will answer my questions, I have 2 points first to the previous question earlier, because you mentioned about those on the Facebook who are informing us how they are localizing international agenda at their own local government unit.
Yes, sir.
So I think for me, it is not the issue of how we can localize, because our local government unit is very law-abiding policy people. once there's a mandate at the national level, a lot of LGUs is doing that. But I think what we need to improve there is the ways of how to do things at the local level, how it will align to their local policies. Because sometimes these policies at the international level has a very broad and very vague context. So how we can help them in localizing it. Then the second thing is more on the reporting of this initiative, of this local agenda, highlighting it in our international conference. Both of us in the ILG and the international organizations, I think before COVID, we attended a lot of conferences highlighting how we can implement those international agenda at the local level. But seldom we can hear specifics like the one you have mentioned earlier, that this specific local government unit is looking at it. I know we have a lot of discussion with this during the time of Music sa Sindoncillo, that how this result-based monitoring should be emphasized at the local government unit. Have you seen earlier the data governance framework that I have presented? How this huge data coming from local government unit subsume it, panel it into information and a knowledge that worth to share at the international agenda. So during that particular discussion with Yusik sa Sindoncillo, I have mentioning that the ILG is a gatekeepers in that. So I think we can, it's very important that we can help local government unit on that aspect of data and information governance. Then second point is more on how we can help our local government unit to more synergy in the implementation at the local level. So particularly, there's an opportunity, as you have mentioned earlier, about Mandanas. You know what? It is very important if we can teach our local government unit in thinking about comprehensive investment programming, right? So we have done that, but sometimes the budget that we have projected is very indicative and not anchor realistically on the actual budget of the local government unit. So I think that's very important, no? Because next year, this is a huge additional to the internal revenue allotment of the local government unit. Then making a big ticket project at the responsibility of local government unit need a future thinking in terms of how they will invest it. What are their budget in the next 6 years? They have to know that. In the local government, in local barangay local government unit, in what they're really spoon-fed on what the barangay municipal treasurer given to them. What are their era? But in terms of projecting, they don't know that. No, so sometimes an effort, because in the field world, sometimes you're doing that. The increment of era in the last 10 years is in the projection of 10 to 15% increment. So we can use that as thinking of their future investment. So if there's a 10% increase in that era in the next 6 years, this is our budget. How we can maximize this in a huge ticket project that is really helpful in terms of building resiliency of each local government unit. Then to your question about SIDRA, I think most of the local government unit is allergic into this aspect. Actually, I know a lot of local government unit that right now, they did not updated their CLUP because of the SIDRA. No, the greenhouse, the computation of their greenhouse emission, something like that. They're having difficulty with this. So I think we need to strengthen the tie-up of the academic institution that I have mentioned earlier. So let it be, our local government unit, sorry to say that in terms of implementations, they are very good at it. They have knowledge in terms of this scientific assessment, that they don't have plenty of time in this, considering the huge work that they have. So it is very important how we can maximize, how we can link these local resource institutions to help at the local government unit. But before doing that, I think we need to capacitate. No? We need to capacitate this local resource institute so that the demand coming from local government unit is there's a specific, what they call that, customer or product or service provider that can provide the local government unit. So that is the purpose of GIDRM, what we did in our previous project, that We are very more on the documentation so that at the end of the day, there's a documents that they need to go back. If the one state university needs to do to do the SIDRA, they can go to the local government academy and ask for that document, then study it and how they can improve it. We are not saying that that's a perfect document already, but every institutions can innovate or improve it based on the local context. I hope I make sense, Raymond. Thank you.
Yes, sir, very much so. And I think there is a very relevant question that was raised by one of our Facebook viewers, sir. Because you mentioned earlier that, okay, we have these international development agenda, these global development goals, and we need to bring these down and localize these and contextualize these for our communities. But given the very strong culture of local autonomy here in the Philippines, how do you suggest, do we encourage our LGUs to move forward from the way they used to do things, the way they are used to more systems-focused approaches? Based on your experience, sir, what are your observations?
Yeah, I think sometimes at the national level, once we get the local government agenda, the concept of what we have, what they get, something like that. We are not sometimes we forgot to look at what are the interests of a specific local government unit and how a specific aspect of the international agenda that you can offer at the very start. Because it likes a marketing of a product. If you want a customer to buy in a specific product, you have to identify first what are the interests. For example, of the goals in the SDG. For example, one specific local government unit, their interest is in water, just like our colleague in World Bank is saying. So how this international agenda can support those initiatives that local government unit is needing in terms of water. Start into that, then document the story, report it. Then at the end of the day, if the local government unit inspired in doing that, the another goals come in. You will get interested into that. So I think it's just a marketing of that international agendas on the interest and focus of the local government unit. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, sir. So indeed, it's very important for us in the national government as well as our international partner agencies to communicate effectively to our LGUs so that we'll be able to achieve all of these objectives that we have. So maybe I'll give the last question to Mr. Cabiles. Sir, I'd like to pose a question since you're focused on urban poor communities. How do you suggest, or in your experience, what were your observations? How do we encourage our citizens, especially the urban poor, who might be intimidated or who might be having some difficulties in engaging effectively with the government? How do we encourage them? And what did you find? What have you found effective in enabling them to engage meaningfully with the government?
Thank you, Raymond. First of all, I would like to apologize. My internet connection is not stable. I'm actually at the Cotabato Airport waiting for my flight back to Manila.
Oh,
So
safe flight, sir.
in terms of, I think, engaging with urban poor communities, even in rural ones, it is important to capacitate them na ma-feel nila na kaya nilang makipag-usap sa ating local government unit partners. Kasi I think there are many initiatives at the local level that are trying to build partnership with civil society organizations, with non-government organizations, and even with local government units. But many urban poor communities feel hindi sila confident in talking to. So I think one of the primary roles of non-government organizations and civil society organizations is to really capacitate, provide trainings on how to negotiate, conflict resolution, and all those things that will help them talk and negotiate more effectively with our local government unit. So I think no, yung with the Mandanas ruling and all of the funding for next year, it is really important that our local government unit reach out then. So yung one side ay yung NGOs will reach, yung communities natin will reach with LGUs, but on the other hand, the local government units should also uh, have more effort in extending their hands in reaching out with our communities. Kasi I think yung convergence at yung harmonization doon magsisimula.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Cabiles, for that insightful response. And yes, local government units are actually mandated to engage the citizenry. They actually have to ensure that they're able to participate, the citizens are able to participate in the local development planning processes, especially at the barangay level, where we have the barangay assembly, which is supposed to be meeting twice a year to pass their opinion and comments on the activities of the barangay, as well as to raise their issues and concerns for further assessment or possible endorsement to higher levels of government. So with that, I think we have gone a little bit over time. So once again, I'd like to thank sincerely our resource speakers, Ms. Fabelia, Mr. Carey, Mr. Balang, and Mr. Cabiles, for their insightful and very comprehensive and well thought out responses to the questions raised by our participants. I hope our participants were able to gain new insights and be inspired with the inputs of our speakers today. So that ends the open forum for this session. Now we can move on to the last part of our program. Over to you, Earl.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Raymond De Asis of the DILG NCR for moderating our open forum. Talaga namang hitik at nag-uumapaw sa kaalaman ang naging talakayan natin ngayong umaga. And we still have around 400 participants and viewers coming from all over the Philippines and here in NCR via Zoom, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. For those tuning in, let us use our official hashtags in your posts and shares. Hashtag PLGF 2021, hashtag Full Devolution, hashtag Local Autonomy, hashtag Local Empowerment, and hashtag October to Remember. At this point, allow me to welcome the very hardworking Assistant Regional Director of the DILG NCR and the Program Manager of our Local Governance Regional Resource Center, or the LGRRC National Capital Region, our very own Attorney Annalyn Baltasar Cortez, to provide us the synthesis and key takeaways from this very interesting session. Ma'am?
Thank you, Earl. Thank you very much, Earl. Of course, before we conclude the session, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to those who made this activity possible. And of course, to our resource persons who are here with us, sharing their thoughts, and giving us, fruitful informations that we can use, as local government units and as national agencies in creating collaborative partnership, And of course, to the almost 400 participants in this room, and this is aside and on top of the participants who are watching us live via FB on live stream, And this fourth session of the Philippine Local Governance Forum emphasized on the role of partnership with the international organizations and how it opened various opportunities for collaboration, of all the stakeholders of the national government agencies, of the local government units, toward a common goal, of strengthening the capacity of all the stakeholders in our local government units in the delivery of quality basic services to the communities. And we have heard the resource persons a while ago, and in the discussion, we gathered many inputs. In the message of the regional director of the DILG NCR, she mentioned that uh, uh, she is enjoining everyone to deliver targeted package of capacity development interventions to ensure that basic services will be provided to the people with the additional technical assistance for the local government units. And she also made emphasis that this will address the capacity gaps and the performance gaps as identified, by the various tools that we are using to assess, the level of capacity of the various local government units. And this forum is also an offering of the Local Government Academy in collaboration with our DILG local governance resource centers to help our local government units in their capacity development needs in transitioning to the full devolution, brought about by the Supreme Court mandamus decision by Supreme Court Mandanas Garcia ruling, and it highlights the areas on empowerment, the participation, and the capacity in local governance. In the message of Director Zambales, she mentioned that the national government is really providing the necessary interventions, in relation to the challenges of the present time. So she emphasized and mentioned that this partnership, that we gave you as an example in this forum, is necessary in the implementation of the full devolution and in ensuring the delivery of the services to the people. And the national government are partnering closely with the development partners to support the rapid and continuous development of the LGUs on social protection, on infrastructures, on disaster resilience, and everything. We are implementing various PPAs on sustained reforms in local governance. So empowerment of the LGUs is driven with the involvement of the key stakeholders. And it is also crucial in the cooperation and partnership in the implementation of meaningful devolution. It was discussed to us by our resource person from the World Bank, si Ma'am Lala, about this utility of the future. And it is also good to know that this utility of the future project of the World Bank highlighted and assist our local government units in one of the main function of our local government units, wherein they have the mandate to provide responsible water and sanitation services to their constituents. So it also seeks to address what the LGUs are facing in terms of providing accessible and potable water to our LGUs, like the water supply insufficiency, yung issue on the water quality, as well as the responsive water supply and sanitation services, or yung lack of funding din, because not all our LGUs are really that capable to provide those services. So the collaboration and the programs like this, as introduced by the World Bank, is really very, very important. So she proposed a very useful framework or model called the utility of the future, which provides for the safe, yung inclusive, transparent, and responsive water supply and sanitation services through the efficient, resilient, and sustainable operations of just like what happened in the Pura Tarlac, as a testimonial given to us through a video as provided a while ago. In conclusion, the project or the program of this of the World Bank gave us a quick and comprehensive assessment of the important aspects of a utility. And this is forward-looking, from the word itself, utility of the future, and defines the desirable goals and action items. It gives us that tool which assists the LGUs in coming up that in an action plan on how they can implement this program in inclusive manner. And this program also pushes for resilience, innovation, inclusion, and customer orientation as what we are also advocating as part of the good local governance. And we are also glad, and we would like also to welcome our resource person from the UNDP, si Sir Edwin Carey from the UNDP. And we also recognize and acknowledge what were discussed to us by Sir Carey, wherein he recognizes the challenges that the Philippines is facing right now, and emphasizing on the efforts or the forefront of citizen engagement, or the importance of citizen engagement in strengthening inclusive decision making, and ensuring that the needs of the marginalized are heard and addressed. So we also recognize that the UNDP, in partnership with the various stakeholders, in the country, leads and support the efforts to strengthen the local governance capabilities in responding to the complex challenges that we are facing right now. And he also kept on reiterating about the sustainable development goals, yung advocacy nito that no one should be left behind, and the need for us to really ensure that all the plans of the local government units are aligned with the common objectives of the sustainable development goals. And as Mr. Kari also discussed to us the DevLive program, which is a tool to help collect, organize, and manage the data at the household level on infrastructure and social economic indicators. And this is also a manifestation that really the data is powerful, and we really need to base or anchor all our plans on data, or yung tinatawag natin na data-driven policies. And he gave us a concrete example that really going digital is the way to go. Kasi with what we are experiencing right now with the pandemic and all the minimum health protocols that we need to implement, we really need to promote yung digitalization of the frontline services of our government and our local government units. And this program was implemented, as mentioned by Mr. Kari, in BARM to improve the local service delivery, like a co-creation of a more simplified process of application. For example, yung mga travel authorities, application for birth certificates, and those were aligned with the programs din of the department, wherein we are also pushing for the simplification and streamlining of processes. So on a larger scale, UNDP is working diligently with the national government agencies on reviewing the technical as well as the institutional capacities of the local government units in relation to full devolution. And we are also recognizing the statements made by Mr. Kari that UNDP commits to support the Philippines, or our country, and our LGU to achieve their maximum potential. In the discussion of Mr. Balang of the German cooperative, the German Development Cooperation, he gave us an overview of how this climate change affects the planning. So he is emphasizing on the coherence in localizing climate change and disaster risk reduction in the Philippines. And it is true that our LGUs really have that mandate to produce so many plans, mga kulub, they have to produce their CDPs, and other sectoral plans. But it is also true that in coming up with these plans, we also need, or we see the importance of this SIDRA. So he made mention about the strategy of that one SIDRA approach, no, wherein this would streamline also the efforts and help our LGUs in maximizing the resources, no, in coming up with these plans and ensuring that these plans are really responsive to the needs of our constituents. And in insight, the practices as mentioned by Mr. Balang are really an integration of the ideas that will always be. Ang sabi niya kasi our LGUs have that several priorities or varied priorities, and they are also Mr. Balang is also emphasizing on the autonomous nature of our LGUs. That is why nagkakaroon tayo ng iba-ibang agenda, But of course, what we need to emphasize here is it boils down, of course, to our common goal of promoting good local governance and ensuring that we are really implementing the appropriate and responsive programs for our constituents. So in this discussion of the GIZ, so yung cooperation in global initiative on disaster management, he emphasizes on the DRRM planning, yung intensifying yung ating regional exchange between the policy and the practice, and yung promotion ng mga best practices. This is the reason why also we are having this kind of session in order to open our minds, and give an opportunity and a venue for our LGUs to know and to have this kind of session for them to in a way adapt the best practices that they can see in their localities. And then for the last discussion, we have the move up. It was discussed by Mr. Cabales of the Action Against Hunger Philippines. We also recognize the objectives of the move up project, the goal to build resilient urban poor communities, to the impact of natural and man-made disaster through the synergy of key stakeholders and the urban resilience strategies among the interventions that they introduce. So ang sinabi ni Mr. Balang, the key to building resilience capacities is through partnership with the NGAs and the local government units and involving the key stakeholders in the process. That is why the organization created mechanisms with partners to implement and monitor the partnership activities. So this is also concretized. Yung Move Up project was concretized with their partnership with the local government academy, and they have also implemented and pilot tested this project in various local government units, and it was proven to be effective. At alam natin that this is really a good project that can be replicated by our local government units. So in sum, the national government really is together with the national government agencies, together with the international organizations, they collaborate to help and support our local government units towards faster development. And we all know that cooperation and collaboration among the organizations and stakeholders is really the way to go, and it also emphasized the perceived need of experience and best practices sharing, and the sharing of resources, as well as the building of consensus, because we all recognize that we are not alone and we are not working in silo, as we are interconnected, and it is through partnership that we can express our faith and our commitment in solving the pressing issues of our communities. And of course, in intensifying and collaborating with these agencies and international organizations in order to empower our local government units. So with that, let us, we urge our local government units, our CSOs, to intensify their efforts to establish more constructive partnership with all the stakeholders and with international organizations in pursuit of local autonomy. So with that, thank you very much po at mabuhay po ang ating mga local government units and all the participants who are here with us this morning. Earl?
Maraming salamat po ARD Annalyn Baltasar Cortez for that very wonderful synthesis. How can we possibly top that na encapsulate talaga lahat ng critical points and critical junctures ng ating discussion. And I'm sure maraming natutunan sa mga sharing ng ating mga resource speaker ang lahat ng nag-tune in since we started and up to this very critical point of our session. And again, we would like to thank our resource persons for this event. Ms. Maria Fiorella Lala Fabella of the World Bank Group. Thank you. Mr. Edwin Carey of UNDP Philippines. Mr. Antonio Balang Jr. of GIZ. And Mr. Roger Cabiles Jr. of Action Against Hunger Philippines. At this point, please accept our token of appreciation or e-cert or e-plaque for which we will also be sending to you via your respective emails and to your offices for the physical copies. Let's just wait for the Secretariat to share the token of appreciation for our speakers. And while we are waiting, we must thank you. We must thank everyone's participation, most especially to our participants from the local governments, the local chief executives and the members of the Sanggunian, to the local functionaries, the DILG officers and representatives from both the academic community and the private organizations who are here with us today, and also the many members of the community sa barangays from all over the country. Maraming salamat po. Okay. Before we go, may I invite everyone, I enjoin everyone to please turn on your video cameras for a wonderful photo opportunity with our speakers and our officials who are present here today. Okay, so I will give few moments for the Secretariat to prepare our photo gallery. Hinihintay natin ang 300, Meron tayong 14 na panels. Okay. For our first panel, hindi natin alam kung saan tayo mapapasok pero yan, sa first panel tayo. Okay. Second panel, thank you. Third panel, wonderful. Iba't ibang organization po ang nakikita ko dito sa ating mga panel. Ayan. Iba't ibang organization at iba't ibang community. At iba't ibang munisipalidad at lokalidad ang narito ngayon. Nasa pang-anim ako ngayon. Okay. Okay. Maraming salamat po. Gentle reminders lamang po sa ating mga participants and live viewers. Gentle reminders lang po. To be able to get your e-certificates of your participation for today's session, kindly accomplish the feedback form. Gusto po naming magbigay ng better experience sa inyo sa mga susunod pa nating session. As you can see on the screen, please visit the links provided or scan the QR code. Our Secretariat will also put the link via the Zoom platform chat. You may also message our chat moderators for any questions. And we truly appreciate your feedback, lalo para po sa ikabubuti ng ating pong mga susunod pang mga programa at learning activities. Okay. On October 28, 2021, you are again all invited to witness the closing ceremony of the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021. We have invited other branches of government from legislative and judiciary to take part in the celebration of the Local Government Month, as well as to get their commitment as we gear up for full devolution by 2022. And please like, follow, and share LGA's Facebook page via @LGA Philippines and the LGA website at lga.gov.ph to know more and get updates about the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021. Also, please follow our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/DILGNCR or visit our website at ncr.dilg.gov.ph. Again, the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021 is brought to you by the following organizations: the DILG Office of Project Development Services, or the OPDS, the DILG National Capital Region, and the Local Government Academy. Muli, ako po si Earl Oreo, and I would like to thank everyone for attending today's session. See you in the closing ceremony. Keep safe po at maraming salamat.